sound of the flute was getting closer, and the army of poisonous insects covered the area again. According to Qianlong's principle of dealing with enemies, there were two solutions in the face of such a deadlock. The first was to find the flute player immediately, kill the flute player, breaking the opponent's insect control technique from its source. The second solution was to quickly leave the troubled area. However, Lin Zaiasu did not leave quickly. His focus was not on the possible hiding places in the shadows. He was staring at the swarm of insects, seemingly planning to confront them with the most foolish method. 1 breath. 2 breaths. 3 breaths. The army of insects had surrounded him from all sides. Lin Zaiasu seemed to have lost any chance of escape. Suddenly, he threw a pebble from his hand, shooting it like lightning. To throw a stone at insects, if someone else were present, they might laugh at him for using a cannon to shoot mosquitoes. However, the moment the stone was thrown, the flute sound abruptly stopped. Countless insects turned around, flying back into the valley simultaneously towards one place. In the faint moonlight, a massive ball of insects formed in the valley. Yes, a big ball made of insects, initially the size of a football, which quickly became a large dark sphere over 2 feet in diameter as insects from all around continuously joined it. This was Lin Zaiasu's method of dealing with the insects. A single stone completely changed the encircling position of the insects. Theoretically, this was impossible, but he had done it. There was only one fundamental reason. At the last moment, his heavenly Tao wisdom eye captured the real mystery. He solved the riddle of the ghost flute worms. These insects were not controlled by the flute sound. The flute sound was not played by a person. Where did the flute sound come from? It came from one of the insects. This was no ordinary insect. This was a mechanical flying insect. The flute sound was not played, but pre-recorded and played back. The insects were not driven by the music, but attracted by some kind of hormone on this mechanical small insect. With one stone, he knocked this mechanical small insect down into the valley, and the army of flying insects driven by the hormone followed it down, quickly forming a huge insect ball with the mechanical small insect. With the mystery of the ghost flute solved, Conch Valley once again returned to calm. Lin Zaiasu's heavenly Tao wisdom eye focused into the void, activated reverse time, found the mechanical small insect among the swarm accurately, and then he followed this small insect back to Miao Village. He focused on the origin point of the mechanical small insect within Miao Village, his eyes twinkling. The events of this night were almost unbelievably strange. The flute was not a real flute. The insect control was not real insect control. The enemy had made moves, not the kind he had imagined. But no matter what kind of moves, as long as a move was made, Lin Zaiasu had a way to trace it. Finally, a breakthrough opportunity arose in the complex situation of Miaojiao. In the early morning, the sun rose. In the silent Miao village, smoke from cooking fires rose. The day of roosters crowing and dogs barking arrived once again. Yixiang cleared up the breakfast dishes and washed clothes in the courtyard. Everything was the same as yesterday. But Yixiang's heart was not as calm as it was yesterday. After Lin Zaiasu left yesterday, she kept an eye on the mountain road opposite. Anyone leaving the village had to walk a long way on this mountain road, clearly visible from the courtyard, allowing her to see someone's retreating figure 3 times even if she only checked every half an hour. Before the sunset, she did not see Lin Zaiasu step onto this road leaving the village. Could it be that he did not leave yesterday? It was rare for Miao Village to keep external guests. If they did keep someone, they probably did not consider the person an outsider. Miao women are affectionate, and she knew this well. Miao women like Han people, and she knew this well too. For someone as impressive as him, if he was willing to stay overnight in the village, perhaps many families would like it. So, did he really stay in one of the sisters' bamboo houses? Suddenly, her heart skipped a beat. She saw him. Coming from East Village, he walked with a casual stride, holding his shirt in his hand, wearing a sweatshirt underneath. He did not look burly, but he exuded a robust energy. He was approaching her home. Yixiang's heart rate sped up. He indeed hadn't left. He was coming to her house again. Her mother was at home at this moment. Just then, her mother bent over to pick up a bamboo basket. Yixiang asked, "Mother, are you going up the mountain?" Mother replied and pushed open the yard door to leave. At this moment, Lin Zaiasu was only 20 meters away from her house. Yixiang's heart almost leaped to her throat, inwardly praying desperately, "Don't come. Even if you must come, just wait a few minutes, wait until mother has turned past that bend in the mountain, and it will be fine. But her inward prayers were not heard by Lin Zaiasu. He casually shook his clothes, walked past the small pond in front and came to the gate, shouting inside, "Yixiang." Yixiang's gaze followed her mother's figure. Mother did not turn back, having passed the bend in the mountain. Her heart finally settled, and she reached the courtyard gate in a few steps. Opening the gate, Lin Zaiasu stood in front of her with a smile, his refreshing appearance paired with the newly risen sun making him look somewhat handsome. "You didn't leave yesterday," Yixiang said. "Sorry, Yixiang, I'm as stubborn as a bull. I listen to no one when I make up my mind." Yixiang was a bit surprised. "What do you mean?" "You cautioned me to never go to Conch Valley, yet I still went and spent a night there." Yixiang's face turned pale. "Went to Conch Valley and spent a night there? Is that a place to spend the night? How dared you?" "I came back safe and sound, so where I spent the night doesn't really matter," Lin Zaiasu said. "Can I come in for a cup of tea?" "Have you not had breakfast?" Yixiang asked. "No." "I'll make you something. Please have a seat meanwhile." Yixiang brought out a bowl of noodles from the kitchen, but he was no longer in the yard. Raising her gaze, she saw him in the bamboo house, and an indescribable feeling surged in her heart. "You bastard, don't you know the rules of entering Meow Village? The girl's bamboo house, you just barge in without any courtesy. Yesterday you still asked me once, today you didn't even ask, going up directly. You think someone's bamboo house is your own vegetable garden? Forget it, don't dwell on this. The more you dwell, the more embarrassing it gets." Yixiang went up to the bamboo house. Lin Zaiasu thanked her and took the bowl and chopsticks to eat the noodles. After putting down the bowl, his gaze slowly lifted, his eyes containing something Yixiang couldn't understand. "Yixiang, I owe you another apology." "What?" Lin Zaiasu said. "Yesterday I told you I was here as a tourist, but actually that's not true. I'm a detective investigating a case here in Myojiang." "Investigating a case?" Yixiang's eyes slowly widened. 6 months ago, the Dong brothers' entire household of 17 was slaughtered. You obviously know about this. Yixiang's heart thumped intensely. "Of course I know. The Dong family is also part of the Miao clan. Such a huge and terrifying event, the whole Miao village knows. We all want to know who could be so utterly ruthless, able to bring themselves to harm even a 3-year-old child. Unfortunately, the police have investigated several times and still haven't gotten any results." "So I came," Lin Zaiasu said. "Do you have any leads?" "Leads, there are few." "Can you tell me?" Yixiang asked. "Of course," Lin Zaiasu said. "From the information I gathered, the involvement of witchcraft seems suspicious. Right after the Dong brothers' family was murdered, that's the first clue I brought." "Witchcraft?" Yixiang was a bit shocked. "Here's another interesting lead," Lin Zaiasu said. "Upon entering Myojiang, someone steered the attention toward you." Yixiang was greatly shocked. "Towards me?" "Yes, many say that your father was a well-known witch god throughout Myojiang. Your witchcraft and insect control technique outstripping the rest of Myojiang. And the most interesting part, you know what it is? Someone told me that you could control countless poisonous insects all over the mountains with your bamboo flute." How is that possible? My flute is just a flute for leisure playing. It absolutely can't control poisonous insects. That's malicious misdirection." Yixiang's face turned white. "But last night in Conch Valley, I personally heard the sound of a flute," Lin Zaiasu said. "As the sound of the flute rose, numerous black insects attacked me. These insects were blood-sucking flying ants, recorded in books as being able to devour a cow in 3 minutes." Yixiang was thoroughly shaken. Blood-sucking flying ants, indeed one of the most terrifying kinds of poisonous insects in Conch Valley. And they were controlled by the sound of a flute. He experienced it personally. Countless thoughts flowed through her mind. She lifted her gaze and stared at the flute on the wall, exhaling softly. "So, you suspect me?" "No, it is exactly this ghost flute worm control that made me truly believe in you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have revealed this to you openly." "Why, even I feel it's difficult to clear myself of suspicion," Yixiang said. "Her father was once the #1 master of witchcraft in Myojiang. After her father's death, she inherited his legacy, and many deemed her the new leading figure of witchcraft in Myojiang. When a murder happens in the territory of Myojiang, and the killer is linked to witchcraft, it's normal for others to suspect her. And the flute makes it even harder to clear." Flute players are rare in my Ojang. And she can play. Last night in Conch Valley, when flute sounds emerged, accompanied by swarms of poisonous insects attacking people, just mentioning these 2 points in Meow Village might make everyone think it was her. But Lin Zaiasu, oddly, said it was precisely because of this that he believes the real manipulator wasn't her. Where's the logic in that? Lin Zaiasu said, the ghost flute worm control. I solved this case. The so-called ghost flute is just a small recording device, and the so-called worm control is actually just the release of female pheromones from blood-sucking flying ants by a small robotic insect. The essence of flying ants is just ants, and ants have a queen whose pheromones are irresistibly enticing to worker ants. This is the fundamental reason for the ants attacking people. Taking a deep breath, Yixiang said, it appears to be witchcraft, but it's actually modern science. Why would they go through such trouble to frame me? Who have I offended? You might not have offended anyone, they aren't targeting you, it's me, Lin Zaiasu said. You're just a strong opponent they created for me. Man-made creation of a strong opponent. Yixiang pondered, why create a strong opponent for you? Because that person doesn't dare to confront me one-on-one, so he plans for us to fight against each other. Only if we engage in battle, he would have the best opportunity to sneak attack, killing me while making you bear the blame for my death. Chapter 149. Chapter 149, Qianlong Trader Chu Tianquo. This is the chain of reactions formed in Lin Zaiasu's mind tonight after decoding ghost flute worms. He entered Myojang, and Chu Tianquo already knew. Chu Tianquo is the former Qianlong. He is extremely meticulous in his actions. He probably had a very detailed understanding of Lin Zaiasu, aware of his detective skills, his achievements, even the strategies he had set, which were very similar to the ones Lin Zaiasu had set up in Qingmian country. Lin Zaiasu and Blue Demon couldn't confront Du Tianj directly in Qingmian country, so they created an enemy for Du Tianj, Kun Sha. Taking advantage of the clash between Kun Sha and Du Tianj, they easily killed Du Tianj. And him. He fully embodied the core idea that all strategies in the world are interconnected, creating an artificial enemy for Lin Zaiasu in the Meow Village. If Lin Zaiasu fell for this plan, he would definitely direct his spearhead at Yixiang, thus igniting a fierce battle between him and Yixiang. He could then easily set the stage from the sidelines. Assassinating Lin Zaiasu and framing Yixiang was his best strategic choice. Clash of the Strong, he really thinks highly of me. I really want to ask him from where did he see my strength to be part of such a cunning strategy. Yixiang smiled lightly, a bit self-mocking and somewhat perplexed. You possess the witchcraft heritage left by your father, you have your companions, and more so, the social foundation you have built over 3 years of practicing medicine in the Meow Village. Your strength there is indisputable, Lin Zaiasu said. If I really had the intention of taking action against you, choosing you would mean choosing the most unlikely opponent. Yixiang understood. Being strong isn't just about personal strength. The definition of strength naturally varies from place to place. Once she, Yixiang, steps out of the Meow Village, she's just a tiny speck in the Jianghu, insignificant as a blade of grass. But within the Meow Village, with the witchcraft she inherited from her father, this mountainous region becomes her home ground. She has the backing of 300,000 elders of the Meow Village. Anyone attempting harm against her would dive headfirst into the deep ocean of the Meow Village people. From this perspective, her strength is unmatched. Yixiang took a deep breath. Who exactly is this person? Are there any clues? Lin Zaiasu's gaze slowly lifted. At this moment, his eyes looked very complex. He slowly stood up. Let's go for a walk. If it were in the past, Yixiang would not have walked through the Meow Village with him like this. But today, with her mind in turmoil and disregarding the unconventional looks from the villagers, she followed him through the 1,000-year-old Meow Village. The wind blew, fluttering her hair. Walking familiar paths, one after another, she finally calmed down a bit. She had attended university outside, a fact known to all. Occasionally, some classmates would visit, and she would accompany them in the same manner. She thought of an opportunity to tell the villagers that this person today was a university classmate. Yes, that excuse should work well. Why did you choose to return here when you had the opportunity to live in the big cities outside? Lin Zaiasu's voice came. Yixiang said, I indeed had no plans to return. If my sister were still here, I probably wouldn't have come back. Your sister? My sister was actually the best at inheriting our father's witchcraft. Sadly, she knew all the herbs and poisonous insects on the mountain, but she failed to understand people. She misjudged someone. That was 3 years ago. At the prime of her life, her sister fell passionately in love with a hand painter. She spent the happiest 3 months with this painter in the Meow village. Later, the painter had to leave, promising to come back to propose. But he never returned. Her sister, pregnant, couldn't wait any longer and went to find the painter using the address he had given. But that man had changed his heart and was now with a wealthy man's daughter. Seeing her sister appear in front of them, the man denied knowing her, using the most vicious words to insult her sister, calling her a whore. The woman threw a few thousand yuan in her sister's face, telling her to get out and have an abortion. With her sister's knowledge of witchcraft, she could have easily made both families live a living hell. But she didn't do so. Her kindness and passion led her onto a path of no return. Under the most beautiful sunset, she jumped into the Huangpu River. After her sister died, her body was brought back to the Meow village. Their father, enraged, wanted to avenge the heartbreaker, but her sister had left a note with her last words: "Do not seek revenge." On the day, her sister was carried up the mountain. Her father sat the whole night in her sister's bamboo house. The next day, he burnt the bamboo house to ashes with a single fire, which also destroyed the 7 rare books left by their ancestors. For the first time in his life, he questioned the use of the magical abilities left by the ancestors. Under these circumstances, Yixiang returned to the hill fort. She was worried about her father and mother. And with her comforting, her father gradually overcame the shadows of her sister's death. Lin Ziasu sighed deeply. "When I first entered the Meow village, someone advised me not to enter your courtyard because your mother hates hand people the most. Seeing a hand person enter the courtyard, she'd immediately grab a big stick and smash the person's legs. Now I understand why. Because this was her greatest pain. Because her daughter died because of a hand person." Yixiang sighed softly. "Actually, my mother wasn't like this before. She changed after my father died." "When did your father pass away?" "Last year, just before the new year. He died from a fall while gathering herbs in the mountains." "A witch god, for whom mountain herb gathering was as commonplace as eating, to die from a fall," Lin Ziasu said. "Yes, I never really understood it either. My mother said my father still missed my sister, so he couldn't sleep well at night and was always in poor spirits." Yixiang's voice suddenly stopped, staring at the path up the mountain. "Let's go that way." She pointed to the other side. "Going up the mountain to enjoy the scenery is also nice," Lin Ziasu said. Yixiang's cheeks secretly blushed. "My mother just went up from here." "Mother went up the mountain from here." "If they also went up from here, they might run into her by accident." "Mother is really a bit abnormal towards hand people. Last time, 2 hand classmates came to visit, and she really chased them away with a shoulder pole, making her former classmates never dare to visit again. It was incredibly embarrassing for her." Lin Ziasu said, "No worries actually, when I came today, your mother saw me, but she didn't chase me away." Yixiang's heartbeat accelerated. Maybe she has already changed her views. Of course, it's also possible that she's just being extra tolerant with me. Lin Ziasu said, "Why not give it a try? We will walk the same path she took, and if she doesn't react too aggressively, wouldn't that unlock the shackles weighing on you?" "What if she does react aggressively?" Yixiang asked. "If she reacts aggressively, I'll fight her. I don't believe she really can beat me." Yixiang gave him a sidelong glance. "Stop joking, let's go." At this moment, she had figured it out. Her mother's habit of grabbing a pole at the sight of hand people wasn't really great. It was bound to be confronted sooner or later. Today seemed like a good opportunity. After all, according to her observation, when Lin Ziasu entered, her mother must have seen him. Seeing him and yet not stopping him. What does that imply? It suggests she was showing signs of turning around. Hopefully, she really had turned a corner. As they walked up the path, she was somewhat nervous. But as they passed halfway, her nervousness slightly eased. Because she didn't see her mother. Her mother should be in this mountain forest. She should be able to see them, but she hasn't appeared. She must be avoiding them. Is this truly releasing the bird from its cage? Lin Ziasu deviated from the path, heading towards a cliff below. Under the cliff, there was a shallow cave, topped with a large rock, and below was a semi-open cave big enough to hide 2 or 3 people. This was a shelter from the rain for the villagers. Lin Ziasu took a step forward, and in this semi-open cave, a woman looked up. Yixiang's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Mother. Her mother was sitting in the cave. Originally, she and he could wander around the mountain freely. Her mother seemed intentionally avoiding them. Could we not keep a mutual understanding? This idiot strayed from the path, and because of that, we now face Mother directly. Mother, Yixiang's face flushed red. This is my classmate visiting the village. Mother gently nodded. I won't be coming back for lunch, you guys get something yourselves. She spoke in Miao language. Okay, Yixiang said. Little Su, let's go back. Lin Ziaosu didn't turn around, quietly staring at the mother. You speak Miao language well. You've really put in a lot of effort to disguise yourself. Yixiang had already turned away, but suddenly she turned back, staring at Lin Ziaosu in shock. What does that mean? Yixiang, she's not your mother. What? Yixiang was completely shaken, her face suddenly changing. If I'm not mistaken, you must be the thousand-faced god of murder, Chu Tianquo, Lin Ziaosu said. Am I right? At these words, the mother in the cave, her eyes suddenly changed. From top to bottom, she looked every bit the image of a typical woman from Miao village. But when her gaze changed, Yixiang suddenly felt an odd sensation, as if her mother had become a stranger. Her heart filled with intense fear and disbelief. Chu Tianquo, since all your cards are revealed, there's no need to hide anymore. Lin Ziaosu stared at her intently, word by word. Mother slowly closed her eyes, and that closure seemed to signify the end of something. The next moment, she slowly opened her eyes. That opening seemed to mark the formation of a new scenario. Fengcheng detective Lin Ziaosu, more magical than one could imagine. Mother slowly stood up. I really can't understand. What flaw did I expose for you to see through my disguise? As she stood up, she was like a towering mountain rising from the ground. Although his figure was still the same as before, it inexplicably felt like he could suppress the heavens and earth. His eyes had now completely changed, no longer the gaze of a village woman, but rather the eyes of a mighty conqueror. Yixiang grabbed a small tree beside her, the tree trembling gently. Her mind went blank. Mother is really not Mother. He is that person they analyzed in the bamboo house. He was the real culprit behind the annihilation of the Dong family. Chapter 150. Chapter 150. White Cat Kills with a Single Claw. Lin Ziaosu said, Last night, the act you staged with the ghost flute worms exposed 3 points, all of which are fatal. 3 points fatal, Mother furrowed her brows. No, now he has proven to be Chu Tianquo. The first point is that this mechanical flying insect, carrying sound equipment and blood-sucking flying ant female hormones, has a very high technological content. It is indeed top-tier equipment from Qianlong. With just this mechanical flying insect, I concluded that the person who took action is you, the Qianlong traitor Chu Tianquo. I didn't expect that when faced with the blood-sucking flying ants, you didn't run but precisely found that mechanical flying insect, so this flaw is not inherent in the strategy itself. Chu Tianquo said, What about the second point? The second point is that the control of this mechanical flying insect has a chain, which is the reason I focused my attention on Yixiang's old house. It turns out that I underestimated Qianlong's latest technology. It's really like a few days in the mountains but 1,000 years in the world. Chu Tianquo sighed lightly. What about the third point? He attributed this to technology. In fact, he was wrong. Lin Ziaosu used reverse time, not the new technology of Qianlong. In fact, Qianlong still does not have such new technology that can precisely track encrypted signal chains, but Chu Tianquo didn't know. He assumed that Qianlong had new technology. The third point is a matter of logical reasoning, Lin Ziaosu said. Your goal is to use the ghost flute worms to provoke a direct conflict between me and Yixiang, so you can profit as the third party. However, to take advantage of that, you need to be close enough to us to launch a surprise attack. Who was closest to our battlefield? Or rather, who was in a position to be closest? Undoubtedly, it was you, disguised as Mother. Chu Tianquo took a deep breath. 3 fatal points, 3 fatal points. From your analysis, I now realize that my carefully crafted plan really doesn't hold up. Is there a fourth point? The fourth point is not important, but it's quite interesting, Lin Ziaosu said. It's about that habit of yours. Habit? Yes, a year ago, your temperament suddenly changed, and you became extremely hostile towards Han people. Whenever a Han person entered your yard, you would drive them out with a stick. Why? Because you knew that most of the people in Qianlong are Han people, and under the pretense of being responsible for Yixiang, You were actually evading Qianlong's probes. What's more interesting is, facing me, a standard hand person, you put down your pole and picked up a basket to go up the mountain to avoid conflict as I entered. Because you knew, I am no ordinary detective and you couldn't drive me away with a pole. It's better to open the door and welcome me, to execute a final killing strategy and eliminate future troubles forever. Feng Cheng's godlike detective truly lives up to the reputation. I really admire you, Chu Tianquo exclaimed with a long sigh. This sigh, declared everything Lin Ziasu said was hard fact. Yixiang trembled all over. You have already been. Yes, in your old house I have already spent a new year, although our Han New Year is different from your Miao people's New Year. But still, on that New Year's Eve, I had a New Year's Eve dinner. At that time you even asked, is there something happy today? Unfortunately, you're not a detective. You couldn't catch the only flaw I exposed in front of you. Chu Tianquo also felt somewhat emotional. At this moment, Yixiang's mind completely collapsed. He had moved into the old house last year. All this year, the mother she daily interacted with was this person. This is too horrifying. Lin Ziasu said, if I'm not mistaken, it was you who pushed her father down the cliff, right? This question sent a sharp pang through Yixiang's heart. When going up the mountain, he seemed to have casually inquired about father's death, raising a question. Why would a generation's witch god, who knew every plant, stone, and slope in these mountains from gathering herbs all his life, fall to his death? Now a terrifying question lay before them. Was it murder? Chu Tianquo laughed. Just as you said, the cards have been revealed. There's no need to hide anymore. The generation's witch god was indeed pushed down the cliff to his death by my own hands. Yixiang's gaze suddenly lifted. Her expression completely changed at this moment. Then, where is my mother? Where is she? This question came forth. Lin Ziasu's heart tightened. This was something he was unwilling to face. Because the answer is obvious. Disguising oneself entails the real person not appearing. People like Chu Tianquo, who plan a disguise as someone's mother, how could her mother possibly survive? She would certainly be casually buried in a pit, tightly packed up. Therefore, the question she should ask is where, but where is she buried? In a single day, to learn the truth of a close relative's murder, and to lose another loved one simultaneously. This is how cruel the world can be. However, Chu Tianquo smiled and said, do you know your mother is still alive? My mother's lifebone Gu is still alive. She must still be alive, Yixiang replied. Hurry up and answer my question. Where is my mother? Every word of the last sentence was pointed. Lin Ziasu's heart thumped. Her mother's lifebone Gu is still alive, so her mother must be alive. This involves the most mysterious poisonous insect technique of the Miao people. It is because of this technique that Chu Tianquo dared not kill her mother, for if her mother were killed, the lifebone Gu would die, and her mother could not appear alive. Chu Tianquo would then lose the chance to disguise himself as her mother. So her mother is still alive today. Chu Tianquo said, now you face a choice, him or your mother. Yixiang shuddered and exclaimed, what did you say? Chu Tianquo replied, if I die, no one in the world will know where your mother is. If you cooperate with me, kill him. I can return your mother to you. This is the choice you face. At this moment, Yixiang's eyes, bloodshot and filled with endless anger. Throughout her life, she had faced many choices. At the time of her university graduation, she faced the choice of settling in a metropolis or returning to the Miao village. After returning to the Miao village, she faced the choice of how to live. Her mother's personality was very different. She faced the choice of compliance or rebellion. Today, she faced an even cruder choice. The enemy before her who killed her father, she hated him to death. And Lin Ziasu before her, who had uncovered the truth behind her father's death and helped her find this enemy who murdered her father and imprisoned her mother. Theoretically, there shouldn't be any choice. She should join hands with Lin Ziasu to kill the person in front of them. However, the harsh reality lies before her. Only Chu Tianquo knew of her mother's prison, and if she didn't agree to his terms, her mother was undoubtedly doomed. Lin Ziasu gently smiled. Chu Tianquo, you indeed are good at creating opportunities, but none of the opportunities you create will succeed before me. Is that so? Chu Tianquo's face bore a cruel smile. You probably don't understand a Miao girl's deep emotions towards her mother. You probably also don't understand finding people is what I'm most adept at. Lin Ziasu said, Yixiang, I've found out where your mother is located. Yixiang exclaimed, "Where?" "That big tree, there's a hollow in it. Your mother is inside there." Lin Ziasu raised her hand, pointing towards an old tree on the left, a tree half withered and half lush. Yixiang rushed toward the big tree. Chu Tianquo's expression suddenly changed. Suddenly, he took a quick step. His movement technique was incomparably fast. In the blink of an eye, a black dagger in his hand was just 5 inches away from Lin Ziasu's throat. However, the dagger in Lin Ziasu's hand was only 3 inches away from his throat. His speed was fast, but Lin Ziasu's reaction was faster. He attacked Lin Ziasu without any warning. Lin Ziasu countered with an effortless readiness. That was their first move. Then there were no figures to be seen. On the hillside, it appeared there were thousands of figures, yet it seemed like there was no one there. One was Qianlong's former gold medal, number 37. One was a super detective whose cultivation in ancient martial had reached a profound level, always on the brink of breakthrough. As the two engaged in combat, each move was dangerously exceptional and beyond expectations, competing in speed, strength, and survival under the complex terrain. Yixiang had already arrived beneath the big tree, surrounded by a cluster of locust trees, usually inaccessible for common folks, but Yixiang didn't care about that and rushed straight in, her hands bloodied by thorns from the outside until she finally reached the big tree. At a glance, the tree looked normal, but upon closer inspection, a well-hidden crack on the bark revealed a cleverly disguised hidden door. Yixiang's eyes focused on the dark hollow of the ancient tree, and tears streamed down her face. An old woman, lying inside the tree hollow, skin and bones, her face no longer recognizable. With a loud bang, accompanied by the sound of metal clashing, a figure soared up from the hillside, lunging toward Yixiang. It was Chu Tianquo. After at least 100 moves in fierce battle with Lin Ziasu, gradually getting the worse, he finally seized an opportunity to break out of the encirclement, giving himself a chance to take Yixiang hostage to create a new opportunity. His thought initiated, and he reached behind Yixiang. His hand stretched out, aiming for a chokehold. However, just at that moment, a streak of white light flashed before him. His forehead bore a bloody hole. At the top of the ancient tree, a cat with fierce eyes had blood dripping from its claws. Chu Tianquo's eyes widened, seemingly in disbelief as he looked at the cat and slowly fell. He was familiar with this cat. It was a cat raised by Yixiang. He could have stroked its fur any time at the old house, but today, with one swipe, it killed him. Below in the jungle, like a giant serpent passing through, the wind arose and then disappeared. A figure appeared in front of Lin Ziasu. It was a village girl. Of course, she wasn't really a village girl. She was Blue Demon. Blue Demon entered Meow Village using her transformation skill, but she dared not get too close, fearing she might startle the fish she was trying to catch. This resulted in her being on another mountain when Lin Ziasu and Chu Tianquo's battle began. She had pushed her speed to the limit, and by the time she arrived, the battle was already over. Chu Tianquo was dead. Not killed by him, but by the cat's claws. This gave a great shock to the Heavenly King. Lin Ziasu waved gently at her. Blue Demon suddenly vanished. Lin Ziasu walked toward the tree hollow. Yixiang, with tears streaming down her face, was carefully moving her mother out of the hollow, appearing extremely cautious as though she feared her mother might fall apart. Of course, she had not noticed Blue Demon's appearance and disappearance. Lin Ziasu reached out, "Let me help." With an arm stretched out, he quietly picked up her mother and quickly returned to Yixiang's small courtyard, Yixiang following closely on his heels, extremely nervous. Finally, her mother was placed on the bed. Yixiang ran into the innermost bedroom and brought out a small jar containing a plump white insect, which she placed on her mother's forehead. Suddenly, countless tentacles stretched out like silver needles piercing into her mother's forehead. Miraculous scene unfolded. Her mother's complexion turned from pale to rosy. Yixiang took a deep breath, "Little Wu." The snow-white turtle Lin Ziasu had seen before poked its head out from beside the door, jumped up, ran into the room, and with another leap it landed on the bed, biting on her mother's nostril from which a long green-headed insect, about 3 inches long, crawled out. Yixiang took out a small glass bottle and trapped the insect inside. Her face darkened once more. "How is your mother?" Lin Ziasu, having watched the entire process, was deeply amazed. "She's fine now," Yixiang replied, "thank you." "Glad to hear that. I'll head back to the hotel now." "Okay," Yixiang saw him out, and as his foot stepped over the threshold of the courtyard, Yixiang spoke, "Can you come over tomorrow? Is there something wrong?" "Yes, and it's very important." "All right." Lin Zaiasu left the small courtyard, his eyes casting back towards the hillside where Chu Tianquo's body had disappeared. Blue Demon, too, was nowhere to be seen. He crossed the winding mountain path, passed through the tea garden, and returned to the hotel at Wushan Mountain. His room wasn't cancelled. Even though he hadn't slept there last night, it still belonged to him. He returned to his room, took a bath, and went to bed. Until the sun set in the west. Chapter 151. Chapter 151. Breaking the cocoon, how could it not turn into a butterfly? Tonight the stars fill the sky. The long-standing haziness of the Wushan Mountain at night seemed to have been blown away by the mountain wind, revealing a charming starry sky. Lin Zaiasu stepped out of the room and still saw the warm scenery. In the room next door, Little Moon was lying there doing her homework. On a chair on the rooftop sat Little Moon's teacher, Hu Dai. Hu Dai had a slight smile on her lips. "You didn't come back last night." "Yes." "You really are bold to dare to spend the night in Miao Village." Lin Zaiasu sat down beside her. "Is Miao Village very dangerous?" "I heard it's a bit dangerous, especially for a handsome young man like you." Hu Dai chuckled. Her smile under the starlight had a special charm. "I heard it's a bit dangerous, I heard." Lin Zaiasu smiled lightly. "You have a way with words and you like saying 'I heard.' I understand what you mean by this word. It can be used to attack or defend, right?" Hu Dai frowned, seemingly not quite understanding Lin Zaiasu's meaning. Lin Zaiasu picked up the teacup in front of him and poured himself a cup. "You also used this word the night before last, remember?" "What did I say?" Hu Dai asked. "You said, you heard that moon spirit saintess Yixiang can control the poisonous insects on the mountain with a bamboo flute." "Oh, I did say that." Hu Dai nodded gently. "I heard it from someone else." "That's why I say, 'I heard' is used very well. It can lead me astray, and in case I see through it, you can use it's just hearsay to easily deflect responsibility." Clever words. Lin Zaiasu brought the teacup to his lips and took a sip. Hu Dai's gaze slowly moved to his face. "I don't quite understand what you're saying tonight." Lin Zaiasu said, "It's okay if you don't understand, I'll make it clear and you will. You are one of the 9-headed snake. Your mission here is actually to monitor those who enter the mountain. People from Qianlong entering the mountain, you know. I enter the mountain, you know. You can use this opportunity to stir up the conflict between me and Yixiang, right?" Hu Dai's face darkened. "I don't want to talk about these crazy talks. I'm going back to my room." She sat up from the reclining chair, which then turned back to a normal chair. Lin Zaiasu said lightly, "You are a genetic person." Hu Dai's movements abruptly stopped. A girl from the countryside who was extremely poor, surviving only with the help of a kind-hearted teaching volunteer, a teacher who teaches in the mountains and only gets a subsidy of 1,000 a month, could suddenly afford a genetic transformation surgery costing millions. Doesn't that seem like a glaring inconsistency? Hu Dai's whole body stiffened. Lin Zaiasu said, "Knowing that you are a genetic person, I know that every word you say has a hidden agenda. I must say, your psychology is quite well studied. Your speech is a mix of truths and lies, subtly setting up your layout." What was her layout? From the beginning, she gave Lin Zaiasu a suggestion. Don't eat the wild game from the hotel. This advice was correct. Lin Zaiasu didn't listen and suffered for it. But this advice itself was also insignificant. Her real layout was about defining Yixiang. The image she painted for Yixiang implant in Lin Zaiasu's mind, the subconscious notion that Yixiang might be the mastermind. Even more ingeniously, she told Lin Zaiasu that Yixiang could control the poisonous insects with her flute playing. And in Conch Valley, Lin Zaiasu indeed heard the flute sound and encountered a dangerous situation surrounded by poisonous insects. This was the grand prelude to Lin Zaiasu's direct confrontation with Yixiang. Combining this with the fact she is a genetic person, Lin Zaiasu has completed a logical loop in his mind. That's why he rushed back from Miao Village immediately to keep an eye on Hu Dai. He thought Hu Dai would run away, but she did. Since she still harbors illusions, under this beautiful starlight, he will shatter all her illusions. Hu Dai's eyes slowly closed. Lin Zaiasu held the teacup, quietly watching her. Qianlong flying car is already on the way, isn't it? Hu Dai's eyes slowly opened. By saying this, she confirmed all of Lin Zaiasu's guesses. If she were just a teaching volunteer, she wouldn't know about Qianlong. Nor would she have said these words. If I need it, it will soon be on the way, Lin Ziasu said. Meaning, so far you haven't contacted Qianlong yet. Yes. Hu Dai smiled faintly. Detective Lin, revealing your hand blindly without backup, isn't that a bit? Before she could finish, her foot suddenly withdrew from the slipper. A jade-like white foot with a pointed tip at the fingertip. The foot raised like a boneless snake. Lifting from below like a snake, it kicked at Lin Ziasu's shin in an angle completely contrary to human skeletal structure. Just a touch, and this neurotoxin would be enough to completely paralyze Lin Ziasu. At this moment, her last two words were also spoken, reckless. Without backup, blindly revealing your hand, is it a bit reckless? Because this gave her a chance to survive desperately. However, just as her foot was about to touch Lin Ziasu's knee, Lin Ziasu's knee suddenly parted and then clamped. Hu Dai's expression drastically changed. Her foot, which moves without a trace and kills unbelievably, was firmly clamped between his two knees and she couldn't move at all. Lin Ziasu said, not giving you a chance to ambush, you probably won't truly give up. As he and Hu Dai suddenly saw the coffee table in front of them levitate. With a reach of her hand, Hu Dai's hand shot toward Lin Ziasu's throat. Her nails in that instant grew sharp as blades and turned a deep blue. Lin Ziasu extended his hands quickly, caught her arms, twisted and flipped them, pressing Hu Dai down onto the floor. With a slight noise, the coffee table dropped from midair, landing beside her head, yet the teaware on it didn't even tip over. Desperation filled Hu Dai's eyes, as she clearly knew that she was no match for the person in front of her. Nevertheless, she would never surrender without a fight. Her waist suddenly exerted force. Suddenly, the door sounded, and a little girl ran out from inside. Little Moon, her eyes wide and round, stared in shock at the two people on the ground. Her teacher was lying face up, with the uncle she had just met the previous night pinning the teacher down. Both of them froze too. "Teacher, what are you doing?" Little Moon exclaimed. "We're playing a game," Lin Ziasu said. We're playing a game. Little Moon, why don't you go watch some TV? Hu Dai took a deep breath. I don't know how to turn on the TV. Lin Ziasu loosened his grip, and Hu Dai got up from the floor to help Little Moon turn on the TV. A fierce fight had become unimaginable at this point. One party in the fight followed Little Moon to turn on the TV in the room. The other sat by the coffee table drinking tea. The TV screen came on, and Little Moon's eyes were instantly captivated. Hu Dai slowly lifted her gaze and slowly walked out of the door. Backhand, the door softly closed. Hu Dai walked to the coffee table, slowly sat down. How about we find another place to finish this? No need. No need, Hu Dai frowned. She thought he would agree. This rooftop was not suitable for a life-and-death decision. She thought she could reach an agreement with him. During the time when Little Moon came out, and he used it to cover up their fight, she believed they had reached some understanding, not to show their most brutal side in front of Little Moon. However, she rejected her proposal. In front of Little Moon, it's inappropriate for too harsh scenes, but I think just talking is not too cruel, Lin Ziasu said. Just talking. Of course, it also depends on how our conversation goes. Hu Dai exhaled lightly. I understand your meaning, but you might be disappointed. I can't betray them. Why can't you betray? Do you think the organization behind you is sacrosanct? Do you believe that the path you've chosen is worth gambling your entire future on? Hu Dai said, I know they are the filthiest creatures in the world. I'd rather they all died without a grave, but still, I cannot betray. Because of the chip in your brain. No, you're wrong, there's no chip in my brain, Hu Dai said. They know what kind of person I am and control me with my life and death. I will never yield, it's because my younger brother, he's my only family in this world. He's the only responsibility my mother entrusted to me with her dying hands. Tell me your story. Lin Ziasu's eyes quieted down. You already know all my key points. Do you still need to hear the story? It's necessary. All right, if you want to hear the story, I can tell you. Hu Dai told her story. She had once shared part of her story with Lin Ziasu. That part was filled with the brilliance of humanity. That part was real. Indeed, she was from a poor family deep in the mountains of Zaihe province. Her father had passed away early, and her mother struggled to raise her and her brother, making ends meet, all that was true. She could not afford education but met a benefactor in her life, Teacher Deng. That was also true. However, life has more than one facet. There was another side to her life. Teacher Deng had passed away. The person who had killed him was a school principal. Even though he was legally punished, in Hu Dai's heart, the sacred glow of the word teacher was erased. The person who inspired reverence and a sacred glow was not the profession of teacher but Teacher Deng himself. With the death of Teacher Deng, her world lost its brilliance. The only spiritual support she had left was her younger brother, Hu Kai. But when her brother had just started 3rd grade, he disappeared. She searched frantically within a 30-mile radius of the school, but found no trace of her brother. Just when she was completely breaking down, someone found her. They told her her brother had been taken to an island where he could undergo genetic transformation and become superior to others. She begged them to let her see her brother once. They told her if she wanted to see her brother, she must act according to their arrangements. So she underwent genetic transformation. She worked for them, and they promised her that on the day her brother turned 16, they would allow the siblings to meet. Her brother was 15 this year. Next July, he would be 16. After finishing her story, Hu Dai gazed towards the sky. Lin Asu gently put down the teacup he had been holding for a long time. The blood spear plan, is it? Chapter 152. Chapter 152. The moon redeems the remaining years. Hu Dai's gaze fell. You also know about the blood spear plan. Taking Daxia's children with excellent aptitude and performing genetic transformation on them, turning them into spears to pierce through Daxia's defenses. This is their blood spear plan. Lin Asu said, do you really think your brother can still come back? Hu Dai's body trembled slightly. Just this one question, and her defenses were broken. Because she clearly knows how the blood spear plan is formed, it is carried out through training in a method akin to raising poisonous insects. What does raising poisonous insects mean? It entails placing 10 poisonous insects in a container, letting them kill each other. Eventually, the last remaining insect is called the venomous insect. The blood spear and 9-headed snake follows the same method. Any child entering has a chance of survival, but the maximum chance is merely 1/10. And that's just the ceiling. Because raising venomous insects involves more than one round of tests. People from there told her that her brother was still alive. But can the words from people from that side be trusted? Let's change the question, Lin Asu said. Even if your brother can still come back alive, do you think he is still your brother? Hu Dai's trembling intensified. This was her second breaking point, once again harshly pinpointed by Lin Asu. Anyone entering the secret base of 9-headed snake undergoes a complete transformation. A naive and kind person goes in, a demon comes out. Her brother was only 9 years old when he entered. A 9-year-old child is a blank slate. What he might become after coming out, who knows? This is what Lin Asu meant by asking if it's still your brother when he comes back. Lin Asu sighed softly. It seems that this question still hurts you. Let me ask a third question. Do you think that by working for them, they will truly fulfill their promise? Hu Dai slowly raised her head. Stop asking. Because the 3 questions I asked, you can't answer any of them, Lin Asu said. You just have no other choice. You can only believe them because the only straw you have is in their hands. Even though this straw has already turned to dust, you'd rather believe it's there than believe it's not. Hu Dai said, you know all this, why do you still ask? Lin Asu said, if you really have no way out, I have one. Hu Dai suddenly looked up. Lin Asu said, 9-headed snake is Qianlong's biggest opponent and also my Lin Asu's biggest opponent. Their secret bases, I will uncover them one by one, and sooner or later I will find out who exactly is in there. If your brother is still alive, I can find him. A frenzy filled Hu Dai's eyes. It's a bit ironic, isn't it? They promise you that you'll find your brother, but it's most likely a lie. Your brother is just a bunch of grass in front of a plowing donkey, while me, your enemy, can truly help you find your brother. On this point, I am different from them. You're not any different. You want to use me too. Dare you say you do? Although Hu Dai's voice was very low, her madness was apparent. I admit I do, Lin Asu said. But my use of you is fundamentally different from theirs. They want to use you for the long haul, so they can't really return your brother to you. But me, while using you, I truly can find your brother. Hu Dai's heart pounded. This is the difference. Yes, it indeed is different. Nine-headed snake told her that if she worked for them, they would return her brother to her. He had used a vivid metaphor, the bunch of grass in front of the donkey pulling the mill. That bunch of grass is just for the donkey to see. It's not something they actually intend to let the donkey eat. If the donkey really ate the grass, it would have no incentive to continue pulling the mill. These people only want her, who die, to work for them forever, so they would not actually give her brother back. But he is different. Whether it's him or Qianlong, stopping evil and wiping out the nine-headed snake's secret bases in Daxia is their ultimate goal. If this goal were truly achieved, it indirectly also accomplishes Hu Dai's goal. Among the information on the members of the secret base, one could truly find the whereabouts of her brother. The rooftop was very quiet. Only a faint sound of TV came from a few rooms, including Hu Dai's own room. Little Moon was watching cartoons there. Hu Dai's gaze slowly moved from the distant horizon back to Lin Ziaosu's face, her face showing an unprecedented struggle. Why? Why? Why would you give me a chance facing someone like me? Because of Little Moon. Because of Little Moon, what an absurd reason. Such an irrational explanation. But Hu Dai understood. She sighed softly. In the entire Miao village, with a population of 300,000, probably everyone feels that Little Moon meeting me is her luck, but who could imagine? It's actually the opposite. To the people of Nine-Headed Snake, encountering Qianlong or those standing with Qianlong involves nothing but a life-or-death struggle, no second option. But tonight is different. Tonight, Lin Ziaosu has given her a chance. Why? Lin Ziaosu told her it was because of Little Moon. These words were true. At least at the moment when Lin Ziaosu spoke these words, they were real. Because he genuinely felt the emotions Little Moon had for her, this teacher. These emotions were not just the affection of a student for a teacher, but more akin to a child's feelings for a mother. No matter what kind of person she was, regardless of how many evils she had committed, regardless of how many years she deserved under criminal law, in Little Moon's eyes, she was the only star shining in the long, dark night. Because in Little Moon's darkest hour, she became Little Moon's redemption. Yes, redemption. But who could have imagined? In fact, Little Moon was also her salvation. The eyes of children are the only flawless ones in the world. It was this realization that made Lin Ziaosu believe that Hu Dai was not beyond redemption. That night, the sky over Miao Village was still adorned with stars and the moon. That night, a gentle breeze blew across the mountains. That night, what Lin Ziaosu and Hu Dai talked about, no one knows. But silently, a seed was planted into the grand scheme of things. The night deepened. Hu Dai returned to her room, gently straightening the blanket on the bed. Little Moon was well behaved. She watched an episode of a cartoon, went to bed by herself, and slept clutching her blanket. Her teacher, under the dim light, quietly watched her for a long time. Lin Ziaosu also returned to his guest room, standing by the window, looking out at the little garden. In the garden, phoenix tail bamboo swayed with the wind. A few butterflies danced gracefully in the garden. Butterflies are strange creatures. Before breaking out of their cocoons, they are ugly insects. After breaking out, they then reveal their grace, their elegance. That same night, a car left Taichung. There were two people in the car, Liu Qiangsun and Li Zi. Liu Qiangsun drove, and Li Zi sat in the passenger seat, staring into the sky, her eyes filled with desolation. Zi, are we going to fail again like this? Liu Qiangsun's voice came faintly, filled with a bit of desolation and confusion. Yes, Zi's strategies always had her faith, supported by countless examples as her confidence. However, this trip to the southern border, facing this rookie, they failed again. And it was a double failure. Li Zi had set up two strategies, and he actually fell for both. The first was, tap into Du Tianj's unmatched combat abilities to kill him. The hardest part of this strategy was to lure him out of the country. To leave the country, they had crafted several plans, one of them involving helping Lin Ziaosu encounter a confidant in the southern border, then snatch this confidant to lure him out. They had even designed such schemes. It shows how prepared they were. Who could have expected that Lin Ziaosu wouldn't trouble them much, as he went to the border post himself and left the country. But the script, initially operating exactly as they planned, deviated in its later stages. Du Tianj caught up with him. Du Tianj died. He came back lively and kicking. The second strategy was to lure him into Miao Village. Because they knew how terrifying Miao Village could be. Qianlong entering Qianlong would die. He entered, he would die too. The biggest problem was still how to get him inside. They still didn't have to rack their brains too much. Lin Zaiasu himself was crazy enough to just walk in. Once he did, it thrilled the two women, feeling as if the heavens were favoring them. However, the script deviated again. The first half perfectly matched their initial intentions, dreamy in its perfection. The latter half deviated once again, deviations that made one question life. In a place like Miao Village, facing the ancient Qianlong, thousand-faced god of murder, he directly counterkilled. With both strategies failed, they had to leave. And they had to leave overnight. Because they had a terrifying premonition that the chess piece in the hotel might be exposed, and once exposed, Lin Zaiasu might find them. You can doubt whether a donkey really has 4 legs, but never doubt Lin Bastard's tracking skills. They smoothly left the southern border. At dawn, they arrived effortlessly in a major city. Blending into the crowd of millions, their tension finally seemed to ease. At this moment, with new identities, based solely on vehicle and personal information, absolutely no one could pinpoint them. Liu Kangsun finally took a deep breath. Where are we heading now? Li Zi said, to see my teacher. Our college professor. She and Li Zi were classmates in university. Li Zi's teacher was naturally also her teacher. Li Zi gently shook her head. No, a teacher from a different path. Liu Kangsun's face changed. This thief indeed is extraordinary, but please believe, in front of my teacher, all his skills are trivial. The morning sun rose. Bailey Miao Village bathed in sunlight, peaceful and serene. The wind was still as cool as yesterday. The fog still as misty as yesterday. In the tea garden, there seemed to still be the songs from yesterday. Lin Zaiasu leisurely walked by the edge of the tea garden, 2 village girls hiding in the tea forest whispering. Chapter 153. Chapter 153. Poisonous insect technique as a chain. He's there again, running towards the village every day. Yes, is he really getting along with Yixiang? It's so weird. Why doesn't Yixiang's mother just break his legs with a big stick? You really hope she would do that, huh? Nonsense, what does it have to do with me? If Yixiang's mother hits him, you can easily step in and take advantage. Don't think I didn't see the gleam in your eyes. You have your sights set on him. Commotion started in the tea garden. Lin Zaiasu's mouth quirked up in a smile as he quickened his pace. The explosive news of Yixiang's mother beating up a young hand man with a big stick had spread throughout the whole village. But no third person knew the real inside story. The 10-mile mountain road passed in the blink of an eye. The 1,000-year-old Miao village presented itself before him again. It was very quiet in Yixiang's courtyard. After knocking on the courtyard door, Yixiang came out from the house. Her eyes brightened upon seeing him, and she hurried to open the door. Have you had breakfast? I've already eaten, Lin Zaiasu said. How is your mother doing? Yesterday, worried about someone at the hotel. He left in a hurry after seeing her mother seemed out of immediate danger. Yixiang nodded lightly. My mother woke up last night, spoke a few words to me, and has fallen asleep again. She's fine now. Nearly a year stuffed in a tree hollow, yet she could still wake up. I truly admire your goo technique. It's actually her lifebone goo, which draws from the life force within her and reverses it back into her body. The white fat insect Lin Zaiasu saw yesterday was Yixiang's mother's lifebound goo. The lifebound goo is nurtured by the people of the goo technique from a young age. Over time, it becomes almost an external incarnation of the person. If the original body dies, so does the lifebound goo. If the lifebound goo dies, the original body also suffers severe injury. From this aspect, the existence of the lifebound goo actually poses a big trouble, adding an extra risk to a person's life. But everything has its gains and losses. The real functions of lifebound goo are twofold. 1. It completes tasks that the owner cannot, like her mother's goo, which can roam the mountains for her, seeing what it sees, reaching places humans can't, and finding herbs people can't. Second, in times of great danger to the owner, the lifebound goo can reverse feed energy to the owner. Without the lifebound goo, there would have been no way to save her mother. In fact, if there was no lifebound goo, thousand-faced god of murder, Chu Tianquo, would not have needed to spare her life. He would have killed her unflinchingly. These insights shocked Lin Zaiasu, because these were not included in the Qianlong information. At least, not in the Qianlong information Lin Zaiasu had accessed. Yixiang said, I asked you to come today not to talk about my mother, but about the goo worm that entered my mother's body. Lin Zaiasu's eyes lit up. That green insect is also a goo worm. Yes, that goo worm is key to my mother maintaining a state between life and death. Speaking of which, keeping her mother in such a state is nearly impossible for Chu Tianquo. Not expose himself, he must ensure her mother's lifebound goo remains alive. For the lifebound goo to remain alive, her mother must also remain alive. But how could stuffing someone into a tree hollow ensure their survival over an extended period? Starving to death, freezing to death, both mean death. But there is a strange poison that can maintain a person in a state between life and death. That is the green long worm inside her mother. This long worm is called corpse goo. Corpse for dead body. Living for vitality. Though fundamentally incompatible, a corpse goo is an item that defies the natural creation of heaven and earth, bringing movement even to real dead bodies. Lin Zaiasu's eyes shone brilliantly. In the Dong brothers' case, where an entire household was massacred, there were traces of witchcraft and also evidence that Chu Tianquo was backed by a master of goo technique. Yes, that's the fundamental reason I asked you to come today. Is it possible to find the master of this corpse goo? Lin Zaiasu asked. This master is undoubtedly one of the two killers who massacred the Dong family. Finding him would indeed fulfill Blue Demon's commission in its entirety. Ordinary people can't find a goo worm's master through the goo alone, but the person in front of him, the only direct disciple of the witch god of Myojiang, might have a way. Yixiang said, corpse goo is a forbidden goo, almost extinct even in Myojiang. It's a legacy of Shishan Mountain, but I have never heard of anyone skilled in this taboo technique. Is there no way to find it? Yixiang said, there is one way, but it has a high chance of failure. What method? I can stimulate this goo worm to return to its master, but it moves incredibly fast. Once set on the ground, no one can catch up with it. Thus, the tracking chain would not really be complete. Tracking? Lin Zaiasu slowly raised his head. I can catch up. Are you sure? Its speed is much faster than the slickest snake. No problem. Yixiang walked into the inner room and picked up a glass bottle. Inside the glass bottle, the green goo worm was exceptionally active, darting up and down. Lin Su, observing it with the heavenly Tao wisdom eye, was also shocked by the creature's form. This creature hardly seemed earthly, resembling an alien life form, similar to a centipede, yet akin to an earthworm. Do you need to make some preparations? Lin Zaiasu said, no need, just release it. Little Wu. Yixiang called out softly. Her mother lived in that house, and a small white head peeked out from beside the door. It was her pet turtle. Let's go together. The turtle, like a little dog, leapt up and landed on Yixiang's hand. Lin Zaiasu's gaze turned towards that room. Once we leave, there'll be no one in the house. Will your mother be all right? No problem, little Hu is at home. With it there, no one can come in. Right, she had another small companion, a kitten. This kitten could, with one swipe, kill a Qianlong 37th gold medal. With it there, who could enter the yard? As Lin Zaiasu's eyes flickered, Yixiang had already opened the glass bottle. As soon as the bottle was opened, the long green worm sprang out, landed on the ground, and in the blink of an eye, disappeared without a trace. Yixiang's complexion changed. The speed of the goo worm had exceeded her expectations. The green worm, released back to the earth, blended into the forest in moments. Could it truly be followed? That was highly dubious. How could she have become so muddled to actually believe it? The worst part was, at the moment of release, Lin Zaiasu seemed to be lost in thought and didn't chase at all. Now they had lost track of it. Lin Zaiasu looked at her. There's something a bit awkward. What? Yixiang frowned slightly. To catch up with this goo worm, traveling by conventional means might not work. I need to carry you. Yixiang's cheeks blushed instantly. Lin Zaiasu's gaze moved to her mother's room. It seems your mother is awake again. She really doesn't have the habit of hitting people with a stick, right? Brother, you're naughty, Yixiang said shyly. Lin Zaiasu reached out and scooped her up, leapt into the air, and jumped over the courtyard wall. Yixiang gasped softly. Suddenly, a white shadow flashed in the sky, and a small white cat appeared on the hillside ahead, its fur bristling and its eyes filled with fierce light. Damn, Lin Zaiasu's heart skipped a beat. I'm here with Yixiang on official business. I'm not kidnapping Yixiang. The little white cat, startled, posed to attack. Ordinary cats and dogs he certainly wouldn't care about, but this little white cat, one swipe could send Chu Tianquo straight to the afterlife. Its combat power was so terrifying it could even unsettle the blue demon. Yixiang softly called out, "Little Hu, go back." The fierce light in the little white cat's eyes suddenly disappeared. Its form blurred, and it jumped back over the courtyard wall and into the house. Lin Ziaosu sighed. "I didn't expect this. Before facing your mother's big stick, I met your little bodyguard. It's good that I don't have any ulterior motives, otherwise I definitely couldn't get past the tough defenses of your house." Yixiang pinched him lightly. "Stop talking nonsense, hurry up and catch that corpse goo. I kind of don't believe you can really catch up. It's totally out of sight now." Yes, the corpse goo was out of sight. But under Lin Ziaosu's divine eyes, what truly could escape? No matter how fast the corpse goo was, no matter how well a little green worm could blend into the forest, in his eyes, none of these were issues. The corpse goo darted through the bushes, down into a deep valley. Lin Ziaosu held Yixiang and jumped down. Ahead was a wide trench, cleared in one leap. At this moment, the cool forest wind could not dispel the flush on Yixiang's full cheeks. She had never had such a moment, tightly held by a man, traversing mountains and forests, the ups and downs. Although she told herself 8 times that this was official business, unavoidable, her body's estrogen was still quietly awakened by another hormone. Her body was soft, her blood was boiling, her cheeks were flushed, and the little turtle in her hand seemed to be laughing at her. Finally, another summit appeared ahead. A summit as if shaped like a coffin. Here, even in Miaojiang, was a place of dread, for the mountain was called Shishan Mountain. Shishan Mountain, as the name suggests, was associated with corpses. More than 50 years ago, Shishan Mountain had a taboo figure named Gushan who, obsessed with researching Gu technique, dug up his wife who had been dead for 3 years and used Gu techniques to resurrect her, causing great panic among the villagers. The great witch god of Miaojiang from generations before, Yixiang's great-grandfather, gathered the leaders of the 8 great sects of Miaojiang to severely criticize this taboo act of disturbing the natural order of life and death, triggering a grand battle concerning the Gu techniques of Miaojiang. In that calamity of Gu techniques, Gushan and his direct disciples were killed. The entire Gu technique of Miaojiang was greatly damaged. Since then, the corpse Gu lineage had become a taboo in Miaojiang. The Gu techniques of Shishan Mountain were almost eradicated. But from the current situation, it seemed that things might not have truly ended. Because the corpse Gu reappeared in Jianghu. Who exactly was manipulating from behind? Lin Ziaosu's toes touched the ground, holding Yixiang. He broke through the air, ascending a desolate slope. This desolate slope, with no residences around, only graves, under the dense shade of tall cypress trees, even in broad daylight, was still eerily ghostly. Yixiang's heart skipped a beat. Gu family ancestral land. Chapter 154. Chapter 154. The living ancestor of Miaojiang poisonous insect technique. Lin Ziaosu let her down, and although Yixiang's legs were a bit weak, she still managed to take a few steps forward, facing the tombstone right in front of them. These tombstones were different from those in other places. Typically, tombstones stood upright, but here, they were laid flat on the ground. Some might say, with tombstones laid flat on the earth, over time they'd get buried in the dirt and become untraceable. This is exactly the profound mystery behind the flat tombstones here. For buried here was the Gu family lineage. The Gu family touched upon the taboo Gu technique, which triggered chaos in the Gu technique of Miaojiang, bringing catastrophe upon the 8 great sects, and turned the Gu of the Gu family into a forbidden art. Other ancestors needed to be remembered by future generations. They, however, needed to be forgotten by theirs. The earth enveloping their tombstones marked the definitive end of their era, aligning with the Gu technique, human morals, and the heavenly Tao. Do you mean, the person buried here is that forbidden character from the Gu technique, Gushan, you were talking about? Lin Ziaosu's eyes shimmered with a mysterious light. Yes, Yixiang said. Is his grave, this one here? Lin Ziaosu pointed at the tombstone in the very center, which bore no inscription. Covered in soil, it had almost become an ordinary floor tile. Yes, Yixiang said, this cemetery follows the burial system of the Gu Miao. With mountains towering around, the chief peak stands out. The center peak, it must be Gushan, not his disciple. It matches. Lin Ziaosu exhaled softly. The Gu worm burrowed down from here. Yixiang's entire body shook. The living corpse goo belonged to the corpse goo series. And the corpse goo was the unique trademark of Gushin, a forbidden figure of the past 50 years, theoretically extinct now. If it reappeared, there was only one explanation. Someone on Shishin Mountain was secretly practicing this forbidden art. Now another possibility, 100 times more terrifying, had emerged. Because the goo worm had not returned to the residential area of Shishin Mountain, but burrowed into a grave. This grave just happened to be Gushin's grave. Could it be? Could it be that Gushin was not actually dead? Others reviving from the dead, that was utterly impossible. But what about Gushin? Who could definitively declare it impossible? He had dug up his wife dead for 3 years, from the ground so she could cook for him, do his laundry and warm his bed, leaving aside the warming of the bed, for even in death a body would hardly warm up. Couldn't he himself revive from death as well? For a moment, a chill ran down Yixing's back. Gushin, this was the man who dueled in goo technique with her great-grandfather. If he were still alive, he'd undoubtedly be Myojeong's living grandmaster. Although she was also talented in the goo technique, facing such a grandmaster. Brother, Yixing grabbed Lin Zayasu's hand. Her hand was somewhat cold. At this point, the arrow must fly once it's on the bowstring, Lin Zayasu said. I know what you're worried about. I can only say, let's join forces for one attack. Yixing nodded slowly. Okay. Lin Zayasu reached out and grabbed the tombstone beneath their feet. With force, the tombstone flipped over. Below was empty space. A dark hole led straight underground. Lin Zayasu reached out, holding Yixing by her slender waist. Yixing clutched her little turtle lamp. Whoosh, daytime brightness vanished, replaced by a gloomy tomb. Yixing's heart raced. Although she was a legendary person in the goo technique, her goo was always for healing people. She had never actually competed against others in goo technique. At present they were in a tomb and she couldn't make out her surroundings. She could only feel the man holding her, his body so warm. Lin Zayasu gently exhaled. We're surrounded by bugs, it's a bit disgusting. Bugs? Yixing's body trembled, her gaze lifted, staring at the wall of the hole. That wall was damp, with many white, moldy spots. But at this moment the spots moved. What were thought to be stains were actually worms. White worms about half an inch long, swarming everywhere. Corpse goo, Yixing exclaimed softly. Corpse goo. Lin Zayasu's back suddenly felt cold. He had never seen corpse goo before, but had read about them in records. Corpse goo was a kind of goo technique, extremely malicious, with just one bite resulting in death. How many were there in this place? Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. They had stepped directly into the lair of corpse goo. He wasn't afraid of powerful enemies, but the sight of so many tiny bugs, writhing and dancing, was nauseating. What followed was not revulsion, but terror. The corpse goo on the wall of the cave suddenly curled up. They're attacking. Lin Zayasu reached out, grabbed Yixing, and was ready to shoot up into the sky to retreat the way they came. Don't worry, brother, Yixing said. Her hand suddenly reached out. The moment her hand reached out, a slight sound came from the walls of the cave on all sides, and countless corpse goo sprang up, shooting towards Lin Zayasu and Yixing. It was like a sudden downpour in a sealed cave. Just when Lin Zayasu felt quite troubled, the little turtle in Yixing's hand suddenly glowed all over. A hazy white light tore through the cave's darkness. Hiss. Countless corpse goo entered the ring of light formed by the white light, becoming rigid once they passed through, and fell to the ground motionless. Not only corpse goo, but a large number of green long worms, the same type of goo worm that led them here, corpse goo. Lin Zayasu's eyes widened in astonishment as she stared at the turtle. Little Wu has the ability to convert life and death energy, emitting vitality from its body. This vitality is the bane of the death-representing corpse goo, Yixing said so. Let's go. The two proceeded along a gloomy underground passage. Different from the beginning, Yixing now held a lamp in her hand, a turtle lamp. The light from the turtle became increasingly intense, to the point where the gloomy underground resembled a brightly lit living room. The surrounding corpse goo, green corpse goo, and countless other unheard-of strange insects all fell to the ground and became rigid upon being touched by this white light. Not only was the light bright, but Lin Zayasu felt that even the air he inhaled was full of vitality, not the deathly stale air of the underground. This breath, too, was emanating from the turtle. This turtle, how can one describe it? Now was not the time to ponder this, as a coffin appeared before them. This coffin, with its blood-red surface under the white light of the turtle, appeared as if the blood was melting, extremely terrifying and chilling. Suddenly, there was a soft sound from within the coffin, and an old man sprang out violently. The gloomy tomb. The blood-red coffin. In the boundless silence, suddenly, an old man bounced up like a ghost. If ordinary people witnessed this scene, they would surely scream and run at the first opportunity, but the people who came were clearly exceptions. Lin Asu's heavenly Tao wisdom eye firmly locked onto the old man. The old man's face was very thin, his skin devoid of any blood color, his eyes dull as if he had no pupils at all, which made him look no different from a corpse with eyes wide open before death. However, there was a change in the expression on this old man's face as it slowly shifted under the turtle lamp. A divine artifact with the power of life and death conversion. There is actually such a divine artifact in the world. The old man's hoarse voice contained a hint of excitement. "You are Gushan," Yixiang said sternly. The old man's pupil-less eyes moved away from the turtle and towards Yixiang's face. "And who might you be?" This counter-question was actually an acknowledgement that he indeed was Gushan. "Which god lineage, Yixiang?" Gushan's eyes suddenly turned into a bottomless ancient valley, his voice as if coming from the netherworld, filled with endless chill. "So, you are Yixiang." Yixiang was slightly startled. "You know me." Lin Asu intercepted the answer. "Of course he knows you. When he and Chu Tianquo set that ingenious trap, they originally intended to end the lineage of the witch god of this generation. How could he possibly not know the representative figure of the witch god's current lineage?" Stirring up the conflict between Lin Asu and Yixiang was the key core of their strategy. It was a foolproof scheme. Because no matter how things evolved in the end, as the designers, they would benefit, since both Lin Asu and Yixiang were the ones they wanted to eliminate. To eliminate Lin Asu, because Chu Tianquo could not withstand his investigation. To remove Yixiang, because Yixiang's grandfather was Gushan's greatest enemy. Moreover, with Yixiang's death, the most authentic lineage of Wushan Mountain would be severed, avenging the blood feud of Gushan's clan being destroyed and his disciples killed many years ago. Gushan sneered sinisterly. "That's right. 50 years ago your grandfather Yikun, representing the witch god lineage, allied with the 7 great witch clans of Myojong to extinguish the lineage of Shishan Mountain. How could I let this go? Today, you've stumbled before me like lambs to the slaughter. Die." At the sound of his voice, 2 blood snakes suddenly sprang from the coffin, shooting towards Lin Asu and Yixiang. Lin Asu took a step forward. Slash! A cold light flashed, and the 2 snake heads fell to the ground simultaneously. Gushan roared, "This is Gu technique." "Gushan, times have changed," Lin Asu said indifferently. Gushan stared at him coldly. "The times have changed and your ignorance must change too, lifebound." Yixiang's face changed rapidly. With a swish, a green centipede spat out from Gushan's mouth, shooting towards Lin Asu like an arrow. Its speed was as fast as lightning. The attack was so strange that it overturned all known forms of attack. Lin Asu reacted extremely quickly. His dagger rose, slicing through the void, striking the centipede's head squarely, but the moment they touched, it was like metal clashing against iron. The green centipede suddenly twisted, coiling around the dagger. Its sharp barbed tentacles, like a jellyfish, spread out to envelop Lin Asu's wrist. Just then, a beautiful glow burst forth in the cave. The glow originated from Yixiang's brow. At her brow, the shadow of a blood butterfly emerged. With a flutter, the blood-colored shadow separated from Yixiang's brow, turning into a real butterfly, shooting towards the green centipede. The centipede on Lin Asu's dagger, upon contact with the incoming butterfly, jerked as if struck by thunder. Tentacles retracted. The centipede retreated and landed on the coffin, its head reared high like an enraged, spectacled cobra. This butterfly gracefully returned and settled on the tip of Yixiang's finger. Gushan stared at the butterfly on Yixiang's fingertip, his face also full of shock and doubt. "Which god Gu, blood butterfly? Even your grandfather failed to cultivate it, yet you have succeeded." Yixiang took a step forward, standing in front of Lin Asu. "Gushan, you are also a member of the Gu lineage, so you naturally understand the rule that fighting with one's lifebound Gu must result in death. You should also know that the witch god blood butterfly is the supreme lifebound Gu in all of Myojong. Your lifebound Gu is no match for my blood butterfly. Once it is broken, you too will not escape death." It would be better for you to retract your lifebone goo, surrender without a fight, and you may still have a chance at life. At this moment, she was infinitely pure, infinitely beautiful. She was the most beautiful butterfly that had emerged from the cocoon. Chapter 155. Chapter 155. Lifeline Blood Butterfly. Gushin sneered eerily. "Little girl, you're just trying to scare people." Yixiang's heart skipped a beat. Gushin said, "The lifebone blood butterfly indeed is supreme, but it also requires an equally matched cultivation to fully unleash all its combat power. You today are still not capable enough to control the lifebone blood butterfly. Give it to me." As soon as his voice fell, a green centipede suddenly shot through his left shoulder and exited from his back. The moment it entered, the centipede was about a foot long. But by the time it exited, it had astonishingly grown to 2 feet. This was another miracle skill from the Myojiang technique, named blood sacrifice. Blood sacrifice, to stimulate all the functions of the lifebone goo. The 2-foot centipede leapt up and shot towards Yixiang. Yixiang's butterfly flapped its wings, and a bizarre battle unfolded in this dark underground. Gushin's lifebound goo had merged with his nearly 100 years of cultivation, and had undergone his blood sacrifice technique, unleashing all functions, even overperforming. Yixiang's goo technique cultivation foundation was shallow compared to his. However, her lifebone goo was of a higher tier. In an instant, each of their lifebone goo displayed their unique strengths. The green centipede was ferociously unstoppable, resistant to both blade and gun, fighting more fiercely as the battle continued. The crimson butterfly was ethereal and ever-changing, seeming light as a feather. However, as the butterfly wings swept over the green centipede, leaving multiple scars on the shell that Lin Zaiasu had tried her best with a dagger to break without success. This revealed that the butterfly's ethereal grace was also an illusion. Its true lethality was peerless. Lin Zaiasu, observing from the side, couldn't help but be immensely moved. Truly, all roads lead to Rome. Genetic transformation at a high level, ancient martial at a high level, witchcraft at a high level, all are different paths to the same end. All non-human. The battle escalated once again. Gushin let out a fierce roar. His voice sounded inhuman. From his coffin, countless green centipedes suddenly shot out. These centipedes were the corpse goo, the same type that had been implanted in Yixiang's mother. Even one small centipede was horrifying to behold, let alone millions. What concept was that? In an instant, the green centipedes surged out like the tide of the Kaintang River. "Brother, retreat!" Yixiang shouted loudly. Yet Lin Zaiasu did not retreat. His hand shot up. A streak of cold light flew from his hand. The dagger skimmed over the tide of corpse goo, turned into a stunning flying knife and struck precisely at Gushin's brow. This was the strike method of an ancient martial expert against a goo technique expert. Not to waste time fighting with you in goo technique, just directly eliminate the source of goo technique. Once the host dies, the goo technique breaks itself. His method was definitely the most effective. But in front of Gushin it failed. The dagger plunged directly into Gushin's brow, to its hilt, yet Gushin suddenly looked up, his terrifying eyes, like dead fish, firmly locked onto Lin Zaiasu's position. As if an invisible summoning, the green flood surged even more fiercely straight towards Lin Zaiasu. "Damn! Not dead." A long dagger plunged directly into his brow, and he's not dead, but even more furious. With a light sound, the crimson butterfly came back through the air, its body overflowing with blood light, somewhat beautiful yet desolate, and more astoundingly stunning. Numerous green corpse goo collided with this crimson stream of light, like moths to flame, turning into puffs of green smoke. Gushin roared loudly. The largest green centipede leaped into the sky, opened its huge maw, and swallowed at the airborne blood butterfly. Yixiang was shaken all over, her face turned deathly pale. Her blood butterfly was indeed the supreme lifebound goo of Myojiang, but she had only cultivated the blood butterfly for just over a year. She was fundamentally unable to contend with Gushin, who had walked this path for nearly 100 years. Once the lifebound is broken, a person, if not dead, is crippled. Just then a figure flashed, and Lin Zaiasu appeared in midair. His hand suddenly raised, facing the green centipede. Yixiang shouted, "No!" Before her voice fell, the green centipede vanished in a flash, burrowing into Lin Zaiasu's arm. Puff, blood spurted from Lin Zaiasu's hand. The green centipede, like a long snake, directly burrowing into Lin Ziasu's body. In an instant, Yixiang's heart felt like it was splitting. Such a malicious life-bound goo burrowing into anyone's body meant certain death. Brother, you are saving me. You are sacrificing your life to save me. Ha ha. Gushin in the coffin burst into a prolonged laugh, a laugh like that of the death god. Suddenly, the laughter stopped abruptly. Gushin fell face upwards. With a thud, his head hit on the coffin, rolling far away. The green tide, engulfing Lin Ziasu, also stopped in its tracks. Those corpse goo, almost at the same instant, stiffened. The rapidly moving scene suddenly removed all traces of motion. The entire world was deadly silent. Yixiang rushed to Lin Ziasu's front. Her fingertips, butterflies, still valiantly blocked the corpse goo from all directions. But suddenly, all corpse goo disappeared. Yixiang's heart stopped beating for a moment. She, as a practitioner of goo technique, knew what was happening. Gushin has died. All the goo worms he controlled died because of that. But how could Gushin possibly die? He was already dead, and it was the goo that kept him alive until now. He is actually the lifebone goo. If the lifebone goo doesn't die, he doesn't die. He is the lifebone, and the lifebone is him. If the lifebone doesn't die, Gushin doesn't die. Even without a head, he wouldn't die. But how could the lifebone goo die? The lifebone goo is genuinely impervious to weapons. It had just burrowed into Lin Ziasu's body. The seemingly inevitable death of Lin Ziasu was put at bay as he stood there, although his face was somewhat distorted, alive and well. Contrarily, Gushin, who should have been victorious, died without suspense. The things that she couldn't understand, Gushin wouldn't understand even more. The only person in the world who understood was Lin Ziasu himself. He stabbed Gushin in the brow with a dagger. The moment Gushin didn't die, he knew the rules of goo technique had been overturned for Gushin. To kill Gushin, destroying his corporeal body was useless. The lifebound goo was his true weak point. The lifebound goo, impervious to weapons, could not be killed by conventional means, only unconventional ones. Thus, he took the risk to strike, capturing the lifebound goo into his space, using the chaotic flows of the space to shatter it. The secret realm space within his body, where Lin Ziasu's truly non-human aspect resided. Normally, he used it only to store everyday items like mobile phones and keys to avoid losing them carelessly, and he had only used it in a high-end situation, once to store the purple magic stone in Fuseng country. Today was the first time using it in battle. Because he was still unfamiliar with it, the first phase of capture injured his hand. However, in the end, he successfully captured the lifebone goo into the secret realm space, and the chaotic flows ground it to dust. In that moment of being shattered, he felt a peculiar movement from the silver fish in his brain, as if it sensed something interesting. These were not matters to ponder at the moment. Right now, Yixiang's body was swaying, about to collapse. And his right hand, was still rapidly recovering from the injury. Yixiang softly called out, "Brother, how is your injury?" "Nothing's wrong." Lin Ziasu reached out his hand to support her. "Let's get out of here." The two supported each other, walking through a tomb filled with corpse goo's remains. Little Hu and Little Wu probably knew their master was injured, didn't ask to be carried, jumped down on their own, with unbelievably shiny heads, hopping like dogs in front, into the tomb ahead. Lin Ziasu took a deep breath and hugged Yixiang. With force beneath his feet, he soared into the sky, returning to the sunlight. Little Wu also leapt up. Its jump, embarrassing even for a dog, defended the turtle's dignity. The ground beneath was still that same cemetery. Around it was still so quiet. That tombstone returned to its original place. The previous heart-stopping episode seemed just an illusion. "Brother, let me see your hand." Yixiang's face was pale at the moment, but her primary concern was still Lin Ziasu. Lin Ziasu stretched out his hand. There were traces of blood, but with a gentle rub it was clean without marks. "Don't worry, I'm actually not injured." Yixiang looked incredulously at his hand. "Just now that lifebone goo, it came out of your hand." Lin Ziasu laughed. "I have another mechanism on my hand, enough to crush that lifebone goo." "You scared me to death." Yixiang let out a long breath, color finally returning to her pale face. "You are also injured. Rest well, I'll take you back." Lin Ziasu picked her up. "I'm actually not injured, I'm just a bit drained spiritually. Controlling the lifebone goo really tests one's spiritual power." Lin Ziasu picked up Yixiang, and Yixiang clung tightly to Little Hu and Little Wu. Lin Ziasu descended from this hill. a few bounds taking him down from Shishan Mountain to Wushan Mountain area. No one knew, beneath Shishan Mountain, such an unimaginable major battle had taken place. Nor would anyone care about the outcome of the battle, because the living remained alive, and the dead was someone who had already been dead for 50 years. It's confusing, isn't it? Gu technique, it truly bewilders people. On their way back to Miao Village, Yixiang was entirely in Lin Ziasu's arms. But upon arriving at Miao Village, her cheeks blushing, she whispered into Lin Ziasu's ear, "Brother, set me down." And so he did. The two walked shoulder to shoulder back to her yard. Yixiang immediately started boiling water. To bathe him, she also needed a bath. Imagine being inside a tomb, surrounded by goo worms, even if these goo worms didn't pose any threat to her. But for him, it wasn't absolute. Perhaps not all goo worms in Lin's hair were dead. Just one surviving goo worm could be enough trouble. Dead or not, it's pretty disgusting, isn't it? This bath Lin Ziasu took seriously, from head to toe. After washing, hung on the door outside was a set of Miao family men's clothing, which she had bought for her father years ago, and her father had never worn. Lin Ziasu, wearing this set of clothes for the first time in his life, strolled around the yard. Yixiang herself slipped into the room, also taking a bath. Lin Ziasu strolled twice, stopped outside a room, and peering through the crack of the door he saw a bed inside, on which was her mother. At the doorway was the cat Little Hu. As he approached, the fur on Little Hu's neck gradually rose, and its eyes became very alert. "Hey," Lin Ziasu greeted it. Little Hu watched him, its gaze very cold. Chapter 156, Chapter 156, Songs in the Dead of Night. "Can I go inside and take a look?" Little Hu poked his head forward and tucked his feet back, his mouth splitting into a grin, sending a clear "try to come in, I dare you" signal. Lin Ziasu glared at him. "Your owner doesn't guard against me, why are you so defensive?" The door behind him creaked open and a voice came, "What are you two doing?" "I was saying I'd go in and ask if your mother was hungry, but your little tiger here won't let me in. I've been doing a whole half-day's worth of ideological and political work with it. This little guy has some strong principles." His voice suddenly came to an abrupt halt, because he saw an incredibly enticing sight. Yixiang had just come out of her bath, with drops of water still on her hair. Her cheeks, red and white, were distinctly separated, the extreme of both colors, white as a freshly peeled egg, red as the blazing sunrise. Such grace simply didn't seem of this world. Yixiang chuckled. "My mother is still in recovery, she can't eat at this time. At the earliest she won't truly wake up until tomorrow. Little Hu, this is my brother, no need to guard against him." Lin Ziasu stretched out his hands to Little Hu. "See, I told you I'm a good person. Come on, give me a hug." The cat turned away, presenting his butt to him. Lin Ziasu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Yixiang laughed as well. "Big brother, go upstairs and rest, I'll cook for you." Lin Ziasu went up to her bamboo house, and Yixiang was washing clothes below, including his and her own. It was nearing noon, and his clothes wouldn't dry very quickly after being washed right now. Does that mean he has to stay here another night? Is she not afraid her mother will really lose her temper? Oh right, she's taking advantage of her mother being in a recuperative state right now. She won't truly wake up until tomorrow. If she doesn't care, why should a grown man care? Leisurely enjoying the scenery. The scenery of the Miao village is truly natural. Big mountains, plains, ancient villages. Oxen, pigs, sheep, the smell of life. Little bridges over flowing streams, ancient trees, and beneath those ancient trees, several village girls were washing clothes, with the splashing water like scattering pearls and jade. Their laughter was so pure and flawless. Oh right, there's also a beauty washing clothes in the yard. She might even be the most beautiful one in the whole Miao village. Lin Ziasu's gaze dropped down to the corner of the yard where Yixiang was washing his clothes. From his angle above her, Lin Ziasu's heartbeat sped up. Yixiang's ample bosom was very visible from this perspective, too tempting. He might not be able to stay here. Lin Ziasu quickly averted his eyes. Yixiang below had actually not considered this. After her bath, she just wanted to wear her prettiest clothes, overlooking the fact that the neckline of the dress was a bit low. She felt confused. She used to live quietly in the mountains, gathering herbs to heal people, washing clothes, cooking. Her mind was calm. But this man who appeared out of nowhere stirred up ripples in her tranquil pond. This man was handsome. This man was fun. This man was also amazing. Her father's death was unraveled thanks to him. Her mother also came back thanks to him. These things are irreplaceably heavy, but what's most deeply imprinted in her memory isn't this. It's the warmth in his embrace as he carried her across mountains and valleys, every degree of warmth turning into a myriad of soft affections in her heart. Each rise and fall was like wine that intoxicated her years. Every time she remembered the thrill, it made her feel as if the thousand-year-old Meow village has returned to its lush spring once more. As the daughter of the Yi family, as the sister's sister, she shouldn't be like this. Because of her sister, who took this path one shouldn't take and died far away on the Huangpu River. She shouldn't follow the same mistakes. But suddenly, she somewhat agrees with what her sister said the night before she left the mountain. Her sister, with tears gazing up at the sky, murmured as if speaking to herself. I actually also thought about whether it would last with him, but at that moment I still gave it all up. Maybe this is something inherent to us Meow girls, simple, passionate. Her sister wasn't a fool. Neither was she. But there's always something that bursts forth from the marrow so directly, totally engulfing one's reason, distilling every bit of emotion from the marrow. Time flows gently through the courtyard like water. The evening dims, blurring the outline of the Meow village once again. In the bamboo house, with a cup of tea, Lin Ziasu finally asked the question he'd been wanting to ask. Where did little Hu and little Wu come from? As the night deepened, Yixiang seemed to become more bashful, and this topic effectively diluted her bashfulness. She told him a lot. Little Hu and little Wu were both found in Conch Valley. Yes, not brought from some cat's nest in the village, not bred by some unique poisonous insect technique, not even trained, just found. Little Wu was the first to be discovered. Yixiang saw him under the golden acacia tree. At that time it was very small, like a little flower ball that fell from the tree. Yixiang, out of curiosity, prodded it with her finger. Lo and behold, inside was a little kitten. Girls naturally have an interest in little furry animals, so she fed it some of the dry food she carried, and the little guy started to cling to her, following her all the way home. Most amusingly, it even found a little companion in the valley, the little turtle. That day, little Hu rode on the little turtle's back, crawling in front of her all the way home. She found it quite amusing. So she continued on this journey until today, which makes it 5 or 6 years now. Lin Ziasu lifted her teacup. Don't you think there's something odd about them? Yixiang chuckled. Of course they're odd. Little Hu is especially lively and can help me find all sorts of herbs. You wouldn't believe it, but it can even tie and untie knots, smarter than most kids. Little Wu is my best assistant in healing. It can absorb various poisons and convert them into life force. The villagers say I've saved thousands, and at least 800 of those were thanks to it. The elders say they are rare species of the mountains, divine gifts bestowed upon me by the mountain god in appreciation of our witch god lineage's deeds of healing and saving lives. Lin Ziasu's mouth gaped open several times, but she ultimately chose silence. The topic shifted. Yixiang also posed a question. Brother, you've completed your business. Does that mean you'll be leaving soon? Lin Ziasu nodded gently. Tomorrow, I have to leave tomorrow. Indeed, he had 2 missions when he entered the Meow village. The first mission was assigned by the Blue Demon on behalf of Qianlong to find the Qianlong trader Chu Tianquo and the master of the Gu technique associated with him. This mission was fully accomplished after the daytime skirmish in the tomb. Chu Tianquo was dead, and so was Gushan, who was in cahoots with him. Whether it was the case of the Qianlong trader or the murder of the Dong brothers, both have been turned into Qianlong case files. The second mission was not related to Qianlong. It was a personal doubt of Lin Ziasu's. When his brother was injured and he came to the southern border, he stumbled upon yellow ginseng from Conch Valley that possessed an unusual energy. He wanted to investigate thoroughly. He had been to Conch Valley and felt that all plants in the mountains carried this kind of life force to some extent. He vaguely guessed that somewhere in Conch Valley might be a passage to the ancient world, but he couldn't find this pathway. At least not at this stage. That meant he could only leave. After he nodded, Yixiang appeared lost in thought for a very long time. Finally, her gaze gently shifted. Then, will you come back? How so? Will you miss me? Lin Ziasu blurted out the words, which was a line he commonly used in the presence of beautiful women, usually breaking the ice with ease. The beauties would give him a deadpan stare and playfully retort, livening up the atmosphere. But today, as soon as he spoke, he felt he spoke too hastily. Because Yixiang's face blushed, and on this night atop this bamboo house, she blossomed like the most beautiful flower. "Brother, let me sing you a song." "Sure." Yixiang sat in front of the bamboo house's window and sang him this song. "In the 1,000-year-old Miao village, I waited for 1,000 years, dreaming of the brother who has now arrived by my side. The bamboo house remembers our meeting today. The starlight sweeps away yesterday's sorrow. Will tomorrow's brother still remember the fragrance of flowers in the courtyard?" Her singing was soft, not unsettling the Miao village deep in the night. The melody was melodious, like fireflies on a summer night. A beautiful tune, paired with an even lovelier voice and the starlight in her eyes. Yesterday's sorrow, that was sent away in the song, seemed to have returned to her gaze. She didn't answer Lin Ziasu's question about whether she could bear to part with him, but instead sang him a song, which was her answer. No one knew that downstairs in the bedroom, a pair of eyes slowly opened. These eyes quietly gazed at the bamboo house. With starlight reflected like water, the shadows of two figures were cast upon the window by the bamboo house. The gentle song traveled through the night, seeping into these eyes. These eyes had pain, conflict, but also endless empathy. Yes, Mother had woken up, but she did not get out of bed. She quietly watched the bamboo house outside the window, quietly listening to her daughters singing. The next day, Lin Ziasu was awakened by the sounds downstairs. As he woke up, his expression subtly changed because Yixiang was still there. Neither of them had slept in a bed but on the floor. Why? For two reasons, the first one being it was inappropriate to share the bed. If Yixiang slept in the bed and he on the floor, it would not be proper for a host. If he slept in the bed and Yixiang on the floor, it wouldn't be fitting for a man. And both of them in the bed would not be proper decorum. Therefore, they both chose the floor. That was one reason, but there was another, the uniqueness of the bamboo house. The floor of the bamboo house was also made of bamboo, and at this time of the year, sleeping on the floor was no different from sleeping on a cool mat. So they tacitly chose the floor. If Yixiang hadn't gone downstairs, then who could be clanking around in the kitchen? Yixiang also opened her eyes, and hearing the sounds from below, she suddenly sprang up, her cheeks flushing like the morning glow. Mother's up. This was an oversight. According to her estimations, Mother wouldn't have been truly alert and out of bed until at least noon today. For an elderly woman who had been sealed inside a tree hollow for an entire cycle of seasons, recovering this quickly was already miraculous. However, Mother had surpassed her expectations, waking up early in the morning. And she was cooking in the kitchen. That was the difference between a real and fake mother. A fake one wouldn't cook. She would cook for Mother, but today, her real mother returned, resuming the familiar rhythm of life from over a year ago. But there was also a serious problem. Mother caught her off guard. She and a man were still upstairs in the bamboo house. She wondered whether, after being unwell for so long, Mother could still wield a carrying pole. Chapter 157. Chapter 157. Brother doesn't drink tea in the morning. Brother, you sneak away. Yixiang was a little shaky. Should I? Sneaking off early in the morning makes me look guilty, as if we did something shameful, didn't we? Yixiang's cheeks turned even redder. If she says something unpleasant, you shouldn't take it personally. What's there to take personally with words? She's an elder. Lin Ziasu stood up. Would she actually become violent? She shouldn't I'll explain to Mother. Hurriedly descending the bamboo house, Yixiang pushed open the kitchen door and immediately saw her mother. She started to explain, Mother, you're up. How are you feeling? Her mother slowly lifted her gaze, peering over Yixiang's shoulder at what was behind her. Yixiang's heart was pounding at least 180 beats a minute. Auntie, hello. Very well, Mother's face miraculously relaxed. Sit down in the yard, I'll make you breakfast. Her demeanor was absolutely calm, and her tone was very modest. We don't need to, Mother, Yixiang said. Brother is about to leave. Mother's face darkened slightly. You child, how can you be so thoughtless, not letting someone who came from far away have breakfast before they leave? Yixiang replied, It's really not necessary, Mother, brother's flight is soon. Lin Ziasu felt his heart leap. Mother's gaze shifted gently, really not having breakfast. Yixiang nodded gently. You have breakfast by yourself, Mother, I'll see him off. Passing her mother, Yixiang stepped into the small courtyard, pulled out her scooter. Let's go, brother. Mother called from behind. Wait, have some tea before you go. No, brother doesn't drink tea in the morning. Lin Ziasu smiled and said, Yixiang, I'll drive. Auntie, goodbye. He rode the bike with Yixiang sitting at the back. Leaving the yard, the little white cat Little Hu jumped down from the wall, landing on Yixiang's shoulder. The two set off, speeding out of the 1,000-year-old Miao village, following the mountain road. As they turned a corner, Lin Ziasu glanced through the rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of Mother standing by Yixiang's small yard. There were complex emotions in Mother's eyes. Once they went around the bend, the Miao village was hidden by the mountains. Lin Ziasu chuckled softly. If I had stayed for the meal, taken that cup of tea, would your mom really have used gu technique on me? His voice was soft, drifting into Yixiang's ear with the wind. Yixiang stiffened suddenly. The wind whooshed by, familiar scenery flashing past her eyes. She seemed a bit dazed and after a moment let out a soft sigh. Brother, sometimes, I really hate how sensitive you are. That sentence revealed an ironclad truth. If Lin Ziasu had stayed for that breakfast, or even merely accepted a cup of tea, her mother would have used gu technique on him. Today, her mother had been unusually gentle. Yet what she intended was so resolute. And Yixiang, by refusing Mother's hospitality on Lin Ziasu's behalf, appearing completely insensitive, was in fact protecting him. Had Lin Ziasu been a little less perceptive, he wouldn't have noticed these things. Sadly, he was too astute. From one anomaly, he deduced this taboo. Why? Yixiang said, the first day you came, I asked how much you knew about the Miao people, remember? I really don't know much. Yixiang said, for Miao girls, their bamboo house is essentially their bed. Just one sentence, and waves surged in Lin Ziasu's heart. A Miao girl's bamboo house is equivalent to her bed. Going into the house is like getting into her bed. How was I supposed to know this? You never said. So in her mother's eyes, he and Yixiang were already involved. This aunt was pitiable, with two daughters, one already ruined by an unfaithful man. Her heartache continued to this day. Now the younger daughter was treading the same doomed path. How was she supposed to cope? The only solution was gu technique, to keep the man behind. Prevent her younger daughter from repeating the same mistakes. This was the meaning behind Mother's breakfast today, and after Yixiang blocked it with, the flight is about to take off, she hadn't given up, hoping to send tea. I was solely focused on investigating the case. I didn't think of anything else, Lin Ziasu said. It seems I've caused you a lot of trouble. That was the truth. When he first went to her bamboo house, it was actually part of the investigation. At first, he truly had no other intentions. The second time he entered the bamboo house was to discuss serious case details with her, forming a real alliance, with no thought as to the propriety of entering. The third time, after the friendship of battling together, and with rushing on our way being the norm, Yixiang took the initiative in inviting him to rest in the bamboo house, and he didn't care. Compared to the comfort of an embrace, what was climbing up to the bamboo house's viewing platform? However, customs differ from place to place. For a Miao girl, her bamboo house is her bed. It's built when she comes of age and dismantled when she gets married. It's also why, after her sister died, her father burned her sister's bamboo house. It's okay, anyway I can't get married, Yixiang said faintly. Really? Lin Ziasu was surprised. The brother I like is leaving, and when I asked him if he'd come back, he was reluctant to answer. Looks like he doesn't want to. With my brother gone, who am I supposed to marry? Her voice was full of sorrow, desolate and faint, but also with a tinge of passion. This is her first time expressing her feelings. Revealed on the road to bid him farewell. Yixiang's heart was in turmoil. The reservedness of a young girl did not support her to say these words. But brother is about to leave. If she doesn't say it now, she would never have the chance. She didn't want to miss this opportunity, didn't want to regret it every day in the future. After these words were spoken, her heart was uneasy, with a bit of regret, but also some anticipation. The motorbike suddenly slowed down, gradually approaching the side of the road ahead and slowly stopping. Yixiang slowly lifted her head. Lin Ziasu in front had turned back. Brother, this is our Miao people's Wangfu platform. Yixiang avoided his eyes. Wangfu platform? Yes, many Miao family girls, like my sister, walked a distance with their brothers, and then, day and night, they would gaze toward the north from here, hoping for the man that brings color to their lives to one day return to their side. Lin Zaiasu said, "It's possible. It's possible the man they're waiting for isn't worth the wait. Yes, it might be pain, it might be eternal sorrow, but sometimes there are things in this world that make people forget these lessons, overlook those consequences, and only remember the moment when the flowers bloom at midnight." "Yixiang, you asked me last night whether I will come back," said Lin Zaiasu. "Today I can answer you I will." "Really?" Joy filled Yixiang's eyes boundless joy. "Really?" Yixiang smiled gently. "When you come back next time, is it still to investigate a case?" "Certainly not. Next time I come back I have a clear goal, Conch Valley." "Brother, you are bad." Yixiang blushed deeply, shyly twisting her waist. Lin Zaiasu was stunned. "That can't be right. I've already stated clearly, next time I'm coming for Conch Valley, and you, little girl, are putting on the air of receiving the greatest tease. Does Conch Valley have some other significance? Is there another custom hidden here that I don't know? Let's go." "Yes." The motorbike restarted, and Yixiang had changed her position. Just now there was a bit of distance, but now she tightly hugged Lin Zaiasu's waist. Her chest pressed firmly against his back, so passionate and fiery. So much so that the mountainside wind could not dispel this fervent passion. The bike arrived at Taichung. Yixiang showed no sign of wanting to go back. Lin Zaiasu suggested, "Let's have fun in Taichung." Yixiang's cheeks were flushed, nearly jumping for joy. Thus, a little motorbike carrying the two of them, along the spacious road, they toured the beautiful sights of Taichung. In the botanical garden, they took a photo in front of the oldest laurel, with little Hu jumping into their midst a bit seen stealing. In the peacock garden, the peacocks fanned out their feathers before them. On Snack Food Street, they savored Bainan Province's delicacies. Yixiang's nose was sweating from the spice, but she refused to admit it spicy. Ahead was a street with a peculiar name, Stone Market. Yixiang suddenly halted her steps. "Brother, this is the gambling stone market where 9 out of 10 bets are scams. Let's go somewhere else." "Gambling stones?" Lin Zaiasu's mind stirred slightly. "Why not let's go have a look?" Yixiang said, "Let's just look and not buy. Gambling on stones is too risky. Many people have lost everything. We'll just take a look." He and Yixiang entered side by side. Yixiang talked about just looking and not buying, while Lin Zaiasu said, "Let's just take a look." Both seemed to only intend to look, but the meanings were not quite the same. The Stone Market Street was not like the gambling stone markets commonly seen on TV. On TV, stone markets have thick carpets underneath, with various exotic stones on top, tycoons and the wealthy with drinks in hand, moving among the stones, pointing and evaluating, making deals amounting to millions or even tens of millions in passing jest. But this stone market was narrow, flanked by vendors on both sides with shelves in the center holding a variety of stones. Some didn't even have shelves, with the stones just laid out in the open. No matter how unremarkable these stones looked here, the shop owners still seemed proud and confident, as if each held the password to wealth. Stories of striking it rich through gambling stones sounded extraordinarily real in their mouths. They said a tourist from Zaihe province picked a piece just 4 days ago here and discovered Bingyang Green, a 30-pound chunk, no less. That tourist sold the piece to Zuyu Pavilion. Do you know for how much? 1.7 million. The tourist ditched the tour group and just yesterday bought 4 more pieces here, among which another ice stone was found, selling for another 800,000. An excited shop owner ahead was recounting this story. A crowd of tourists gathered around his stall, eyes gleaming green, peering at the unremarkable stone pieces on the ground as if they could see the myth of wealth. Lin Zaiasu knew this was a setup. This was marketing, using the myth of instant riches to stimulate the tourists' desire to buy. These stories could be true or false, maybe something that happened once a few months ago, or an event from years past, a change of place name, a reshuffling of characters, repackaged and presented anew and just as compelling. They only talk about the extremely rare cases, and would never mention those people who get so enticed by overnight riches that they lose everything. That is business. That is savvy. Lin Zaiasu picked up a stone in front of him, his heavenly Tao wisdom eye catching a crack on the stone, and followed it to its deepest part. Chapter 158. Chapter 158. Little Hu Causes Trouble. This is a special ability unknown to anyone. What's even more special is that his ability has upgraded slightly. While employing the heavenly Tao wisdom eye, the silver fish in his sea of consciousness seemed unwilling to be left out, swimming into this stone. With that swim, the stone in front of him truly changed. It was not just the surface along the crack that came into his view. The internal structure of the stone was now completely clear to him. The Sea of Consciousness silver fish could upgrade too, one of Lin Zaiasu's greatest gains since entering the southern border. Where did it begin? It started when he helped his brother and several others from Gongchen Mountain detect the points of circulation for the rejuvenation true qi. The points of circulation for rejuvenation true qi are profound, originating from the Danshan but located at the intersection of three nerves, each person's intersection slightly different. If not precisely captured, igniting that lamp is impossible. Therefore, his Sea of Consciousness silver fish came into play, mastering control after more than 10 extreme challenges. It even started getting a bit distracted from its main duty. The even more incredible event happened yesterday. Yesterday he crushed the lifebone goo of Gushan, and his Sea of Consciousness silver fish seemed to become more active. Now on this piece of stone, it became fully apparent. When the Sea of Consciousness silver fish entered the stone seemed to shed its outer layer in front of him, revealing its true nature. Suddenly there was a cracking sound, the sound of the stone breaking. Yixian gasped. Lin Zaiasu suddenly turned around, staring at the stone that had hit the ground. The stone had fallen from the shelf, splitting into two. Yixian shouted because, along with the stone, a little white cat Little Hu had also fallen. Little Hu, clumsy, had jumped up the shelf, knocked off the stone which then fell, and with a leap, landed in Yixian's arms, also hiding its head. With a swoosh, the surrounding tourists stepped back at the same time. Everyone fears this kind of incident. In the jade industry, carelessness is especially taboo. A moment of inattention can destroy a piece of jade, and you would not even realize its potential value. It could be worthless or worth tens of millions. When involved in this industry, no matter how rich you are, you must be careful. Lin Zaiasu knows this truth, and so does Yixian. But Little Hu doesn't know it's just an animal, wild from the mountains. Seeing a stone and jumping on it is normal, but here, a jump causes an accident. The shop owner jumped up, his face changed drastically and rushed out, lifting the two broken pieces of stone. "Girl, you have to buy this stone." Yixian's face slightly changed, upsetting and breaking someone else's merchandise. Paying for it is the right thing to do. "Boss, my Little Hu didn't understand, we're sorry. Name your price and I'll compensate." 30,000 yuan. Yixian's face drastically changed. 30,000, how is that possible? This is just scrap. I'm a local, I know the stones. If you're a local, then you should know what gambling on stones is. Nobody knows the value of a stone before it's cut. The boss flipped the stone over, pointing at the price tag on the back, and this stone was clearly marked at 30,000 yuan. Pay up. People around started to talk. Some said the stone was clearly a black chicken, absolutely worthless, not even striking in appearance, and even uncarved selling it at most would fetch 3,000 yuan. Others said that's the rule of gambling on stones. The owner priced it at 30,000 yuan. You could choose not to buy it, but with so many people in the world, perhaps someone would be willing to buy. Now that it's been smashed, no one will buy it. Those 30,000 yuan should be paid. Yixian really panicked. She lives in the mountains, usually doesn't spend much money. Those who come to her for healing are all from Miao village. She never takes any money for it. How could she have 30,000 yuan? Her bank account only has a little over 2,000 yuan. Now surrounded by onlookers, pressured by the boss to pay a sky-high amount she couldn't afford, what should she do? Lin Zaiasu stepped forward. "Boss, this isn't very righteous of you. This stone was already broken. You were trying to scam us, right?" Yixian's eyes brightened. "Exactly. Look at the marks on the break. They don't look new. You were definitely trying to scam us." The boss stepped forward. "You dare spout nonsense, you're looking for trouble." With that step, he showed a ferocious demeanor. A young man standing aside with his arms crossed coldly said, "It's the rule of the stone market. Damage a stone, compensate as per the price. Are you bullying locals?" "Exactly. If they dare not to pay, let them be unable to leave Taichung. Brother Zhang, get the 30,000 from them, not a yuan less." Suddenly, 4 or 5 people stood out, and the atmosphere immediately became tense. Yixian's body trembled slightly, but Little Hu in her arms stopped trembling, slowly sticking its head out, its eyes blazing with threatening intent, yet nobody noticed. 30,000, Lin Zaiasu said. "Boss, are you sure you want to be this ruthless?" Marked at 30,000, not a penny less, the boss said. Pay up. Brother, Yixiang gently tugged at his sleeve. Let's call the police. Lin Ziasu smiled lightly. No need to call the police. Here, boss, I'll make the payment. The boss coldly passed over the payment code. Lin Ziasu lifted his phone. Yixiang's face turned pale. This was her fault. Little Hu's fault was her fault too, but ultimately it was her brother bearing this huge, undeserved cost. This money she would definitely pay back to her brother in the future, but it was still so unfair. With a soft beep, signifying the payment was complete. The amount of 30,000 was also explicitly displayed. The boss finally showed a satisfied smile on his face. Yixiang's face was full of anger. She was increasingly convinced that the stone that had just fallen was deliberately tampered with, as the break did not look like a new one. The neighboring tourist also sighed quietly. Having traveled far and wide, they had seen many scams where a worthless stone was priced high, placed precariously on a shelf just waiting for someone to accidentally knock it over. Once you are tricked, they can sell a worthless stone for a sky-high price. You can't reason with them. Even if you call the police, they have their excuses ready. On their turf, you will inevitably suffer a loss. This couple seemed to have fallen into the trap. Only Lin Ziasu remained calm, even managing a smile. Boss, now that the previous matter is settled, can I do some legitimate business with you? The boss was startled. You want to buy stones? Yes. Everyone was dumbfounded. Swindled out of 30,000 yuan and you still patronize their business. Are you really that afraid of not being able to leave Taichung? Why so weak? Yixiang couldn't stand it and tugged at his lower back gently. Lin Ziasu seemed not to understand the meaning of her tugging his lower back. The boss's smile bloomed. If the gentleman wants to buy stones, then you are my cherished customer. How could I not welcome you? Please, sir. Even his way of addressing had changed. Lin Ziasu walked to his stall, squatted down, and looked very carefully. More and more people gathered around, as his behavior was quite unusual. After about 20 minutes, Lin Ziasu had checked several hundred stones under the stall owner's name and pointed to 3 of them. Boss, give me a price for these 3 stones in total. The boss hurriedly picked up the 3 stones, placed them in front of Lin Ziasu. This stone is 50,000, this one 30,000, and this one 100,000, a total of 180,000. 50,000, Lin Ziasu said, a total of 50,000 yuan. That's a bit too low, sir. You're cutting it down too harshly. Add a bit, the boss said. 50,000 means 50,000, not a penny more. Just tell me if you will sell or not, Lin Ziasu said. Sold. Lin Ziasu raised his hand, scanned a code. A beep sounded lightly, signifying the finalizing of the transaction. The expressions on the faces of the people around could not be discerned. This young man finally stood his ground once in front of the boss, insisting without yielding. But do you know what this kind of defiance means? It means falling into the trap again. The pricing of stones can often be wildly inflated. Something priced at 100,000 usually sells for around 10,000. For an asking price of 180,000, acquiring it for 50,000 still means a loss of at least 30,000. The boss's smile bloomed again, and the neighboring stall owners looked on enviously, all business people wondering why they didn't encounter such a customer. Stupid, stubborn, and prideful, yet he still has money. Lin Ziasu patted the 3 stones in front of him. Boss, these 3 stones are mine now, right? The money has been paid, of course they're yours, the boss responded with a smile. Lin Ziasu said, you might be wondering, and everyone else probably finds it strange, why I would still patronize your business after being ripped off by you, right? The people nearby looked at each other. Indeed, this was everyone's question. Lin Ziasu said, because I have a habit, wherever I fall, that's where I get back up. Wherever I lose money, that's where I earn it back. Damn. Everyone silently despised him. So he's playing that game. Please, theory is just theory. Your idea isn't bad, but among those who enter the stone market, who doesn't have this idea? Especially those who have lost money and are desperately trying to make up for it by gambling on stones. Aren't they all clinging to the idea of getting up where they fall, as they further venture down this path of no return? Falling is easy, but getting up, is it as simple as just deciding to? Lin Ziasu's gaze swept over the expressions of the surrounding people, including Yixiang's conflicted face. He smiled. Do you all not believe that I can make money with these stones? An old man gently shook his head. Young man, there's something wrong with your attitude. Gambling on stones with that mindset, no matter how wealthy your family is, you'll lose it all. Wise words from the elder, thank you, Lin Zaiasu said, but that only applies to ordinary people, not to me. At that remark, all eyes were intensely focused on him. Lin Zaiasu held up a stone. Take this one in my hand, for example. Although it has a human-shaped crack and cannot be made into a bracelet, it's jadeite of ice-clear quality. The overall value, including pendants and other trinkets, could well exceed 6 figures. Just with this one piece, all of today's costs will be recovered. Yixiang's eyes sparkled. Brother, is that true? She was generally naive. She still focused on the large sum of money brother lost today, and she trusted him deeply. When brother said that this stone could recover all the costs, she became excited. Lin Zaiasu nodded. I'll open it to show you. As he spoke, a dagger suddenly appeared in his hand. With a swift flick of the dagger hiss, a light sound, and the stone in his hand split in half. Chapter 159. Chapter 159. Flipping the stall. The faces of everyone in the venue suddenly changed. All changing in unison. The one who changed the most was the boss and the surrounding stall owners who had backed him up in the beginning. Relying on the fact that they were locals, they put on a display of force trying to overpower the two. At that moment the two complied. But now, with a stretch of his hand, Lin Zaiasu made a dagger appear out of thin air, and with a wave of his hand, the hard raw jadeite split into two, the break clean and even, as if it was sawed with an electric saw. He is a genetic master. Even if not a genetic master, he must be an ancient martial unparalleled master, who could overpower someone like him with force. These stall owners actually threatened such an unmatched master with not being able to exhibit in Taichung. It's a truly rare oddity. Even more astonishing is that he actually chose to pay up. What does he mean by revealing his sharp edge now? For a moment, a cold wind seemed to blow in the hearts of those few people. With a light flip of his hand, Lin Zaiasu made the dagger disappear, and the two pieces of stone separated. The old man's facial expression changed. Under the sunlight one could clearly see the jade was of ice-clear quality, very good. Really ice-clear, someone exclaimed. Such material is worth at least 6 figures. This was judged based on value. There really is a human-shaped crack on it. The stone wasn't even opened yet, and he already said there was a human-shaped crack inside. How did he see that? Oh my God, X-ray vision. For a moment, the entire 100-meter street was astir. It's a common saying in the gambling stone market that even immortals can't predict an inch of jade. Yet today, a young man has accurately determined the quality of jade inside a stone even before it was cut, even pointing out the human-shaped crack. This is a god of gambling stones. Who wouldn't want to witness such a god? Before long, the street was packed, 3 layers inside and 3 outside, so crowded no water could seep through. Lin Zaiasu held the stone high. I've already said this stone is just to break even. I spent 50,000 today on buying stones, was ripped off by this boss for 30,000, a total of 80,000. I'll sell this stone at cost for $80,000. Who wants it? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Selling on the spot. This was also a first in the history of gambling on stones. Normally, people would take the stones to a cutting workshop to gamble, but he was gambling on the spot, selling on the spot. For a stone that had already been opened, the quality inside was visible at a glance, and its value was almost clear. For a stone like this, definitely more than $10,000. $80,000, snatching it plain and simple. I want it, a loud shout came from the crowd. I'll pay 90,000, give it to me, someone else yelled out. I'll pay 100,000, no fun going over 100,000, just give it to me, the old man said. Lin Zaiasu opened the payment QR code on his phone, handed it to the old man. Old man, I said 80,000, so 8,000 it is. No need for 100,000, scan the code. There was a moment of silence among the crowd. The old man's sidekick stepped forward, scanned the code, paid 80,000, and took the 2 pieces of stone from Lin Zaiasu's hands. The transaction was completed. Lin Zaiasu flashed his phone in front of Yixiang. Look, I've already made my money back, stop pouting. Yixiang's lips were no longer pouted, her eyes blooming with joyous little flowers, and her cheeks were flushed with radiant clouds. The incident today started off accidentally. Any person encountering such a situation would begrudgingly accept their bad luck, wallowing in melancholy for quite a while. But he, in just a moment, dispersed the gloom from the sky, revealing a bright and clear weather. This is the brother she fancied. A brother who stands out from the rest. "Little brother, you have 2 more stones. Are you going to open them?" The old man smiled. "This stone, the quality is just barely reaching the ice level, not particularly good, but it is a color material stone, yellow with green, quite rare." Lin Zaiasu said, "Old sir, do you want to buy it?" The crowd went deadly silent once again. His words were nothing strange in the jade industry. They were even professional jargon. But please, do not overlook that at this moment, this stone is still uncut. Predicting the quality and color of the stone before it was cut. If he is right again, then his X-ray vision is definitely certain. His status as a gambling god is assured. Witness a god-level character right before your eyes. Everyone held their breath. The old man's eyes twinkled. "Little brother, why not open it and see? If it is as you say, I will definitely buy it." Lin Zaiasu laughed heartily. "Good, this is a profitable road trip." His dagger appeared again from nowhere with a light swing. The stone split in half, revealing yellow and green mingling, barely achieving ice-clear quality. The whole venue erupted in uproar. Gambling god. This is the true divine sight. My heavens, what am I witnessing? The old man gently raised his hand, silencing the shouting around him. "Little brother, 200,000, will you sell it? You kindly gave me a heads up before. It's my honor to respect that. $100,000 sold to you." Another 100,000. Another unbelievable self-imposed price cut sale. The surrounding people looked at each other in bewilderment. Some connoisseurs began to feel an unusual sensation in their hearts. They saw a certain mystery through this uncommon event. This old man was very strange. This young man is even more puzzling. The price offered by the elder is actually higher than the market price. To an expert, this stone is worth probably only about $12,000 or $13,000, but he directly quoted 20,000. However, Lin Zaiasu, breaking the convention of the marketplace, rejected the high offer and reverted to the more rational market price of $10,000. Why is that? With a wave of his hand, the elder had that young man reappear and scan the code again, representing the travel expense of $10,000 that Lin Zaiasu received. The third stone, the last one. Lin Zaiasu lifted the stone. "I'm not selling this stone because high-quality ice-clear jade with spring colors is an ideal material for bracelets. I plan to hire someone to do a bit of work and make a few bracelets." The elder smiled. "Little brother, let me have another look for old time's sake, and I'll do the processing for free. How's that?" Lin Zaiasu said, "Elder, are you in the jade processing industry?" The elder replied with a smile, "I run a company called Zuyu Pavilion, and my surname is Joe." The people around were all stunned, staring at this seemingly ordinary elder, eyes wide in disbelief. Zuyu Pavilion, that's the largest jewelry company in Chuanan Province, a Zhou family enterprise. The current head of the family, Zhou Xiaowu, is said to be recuperating in Taichung. Many jade stone merchants have visited him, but the elder declined to meet anyone. Today, he was unexpectedly wandering in the stone market, a place that's not especially high-end. Lin Zaiasu, seemingly unaware of the name that moved the border town, just smiled lightly, and the dagger in his hand made the third cut. With a light swish, the stone split in two. A beautiful piece of jade gleamed under the sunlight, revealing its stunning features, both pieces like 2 pools of emerald water. The base color with spring colors had not a single crack. The ice-level species of jade, most suitable for bracelets. After a moment of silence from the crowd, a thunderous wave of astonishment erupted. The stall owner standing behind Lin Zaiasu was trembling all over. High-quality ice-clear jade with spring colors was no longer worth merely $10,000. It was easily worth $1 million. Such stones were sold from his stall. 3 stones altogether cost $5,000, and he thought he had made a great deal. But this man, cutting the stones in real time, revealing their value on the spot, the total worth reached over $1 million. In the end, who earned more? Sure, he made a good profit by today's regular business standards, but this young man earned even more. That's how it is, you are happy with your own earnings. But when you see someone else make more from you, your satisfaction greatly diminishes. As a businessman, however, one needs to see beyond that. For instance, influence. This young man bought 3 raw stones from his stall, and their value skyrocketed in an instant. Imagine how many others this will attract to his stall. He must seize this enormous influx of visitors. Thinking of this, Boss Zhang still got excited. Lin Ziasu spoke up. Just now, Boss Joe gave me a kind suggestion, and I'd also like to offer a kind suggestion to all tourists here. Please don't let these 3 stones I got stir you up. Among the hundreds of stones at Boss Zhang's stall, only these 3 were of any value, and I've already snatched them all. The rest of the stones are all waste material. If you follow this trend, be prepared to lose even your underwear. Boss Zhang's eyes bulged with shock, and those dreams of a sky-high flow of customers that had just started forming in his head seemed to be crushed by those words. Lin Ziasu extended his hand, reaching out towards Little Hu, who was in Yixiang's arms. Little Hu, you caused trouble today, and I helped you settle it. A little hug isn't too much to ask for, right? Little Hu tilted his head to look at him for a while before extending his paw. Haha, you're only this well-behaved when you make trouble. Lin Ziasu hugged Little Hu and casually picked up a raw stone while Yixiang picked up another, and the 2 left the stone market. Boss Joe was waiting for him at the entrance of the market. Boss Joe had promised to let him indulge his eyes once more and to process his stones for free. They took Boss Joe's car to Zuyu Pavilion. Inside the stone market, the fervor of conversation surged wave after wave. Today was truly an encounter with the gambling god of stones, nailing 3 stones in a row without a single error, almost as if seeing them inside and out with his own eyes, amassing a fortune worth millions in the blink of an eye. Such legends will be refreshed and embellished in the stone market, stimulating every entrant's cerebral cortex and the speed of their blood flow. This was the enormous influx of attention at the stone market. However, Boss Zhang felt darkness looming before his eyes. Because this enormous influx would benefit all stall owners, all except for him. Because Lin Ziasu's last words were too poisonous. He publicly told everyone that out of the hundreds of raw stones at Boss Zhang's stall, only 3 had value, and he had picked them all. The rest were all waste. Are his words believable? If an average person said it, no. Who knows if there is anything valuable inside a stone? But if he said it, would you believe it? No one could disbelieve it. Because he had a grudge with the stall owner, and if there were good items in the owner's stones, he would have unmercifully cleared them out. Also because he is the gambling god, with just one look, he could tell the good from the bad at a glance. As long as you believe he could discern the quality of jade, you must believe. The remaining hundreds of stones are indeed all waste. Gambling on stones is all about hope. If even the gambling god has condemned these hundreds of stones, who would be so foolhardy to rush towards sure defeat? This was Lin Ziasu's retribution against him. Decisive and unconventional. He seems obedient, compliant, accepting being fleeced by the boss while still looking out for the boss's business. In fact, his plans were interconnected, and ultimately he reaped a million fortune from the boss and in return smashed the stall to pieces. From today onwards, Zheng Dadu would find it impossible to survive here, because his stones were all deemed worthless by the invisible judgment of the gambling god. If it were an average person, Zheng Dadu would have ways to handle it. He's not a saint, but dare he do so with Lin Ziasu? Besides being the gambling god, he was also a supreme expert. For someone like him, killing Zheng Dadu would probably be as easy as killing a fly. Chapter 160. Chapter 160, Zuyu Pavilion's Transaction. Zuyu Pavilion, located to the south of Taichung. Just ahead is the Taichung Botanical Garden, where a variety of exotic flowers and unusual plants bloom this season, logical or not. At the entrance to Zuyu Pavilion, numerous luxury cars are parked. A man in a suit stands at the entrance, respectfully welcoming Boss Joe's car. As Boss Joe gets out of the car, the man in the suit bows exceptionally low. Elder. He does not call him boss but elder. Boss Joe raises his hand slightly. Zai He, arrange for the best craftsman to work on this for the young man and deliver it to the reception room within 2 hours. Yes. The 2 pieces of jade are carefully taken away by the man in the suit, and the young man who helped Boss Joe pay and drive leads them into a luxurious living room on the 3rd floor. Serving the finest by Hao tea. Lin Ziasu and Yixiang rest here. But Boss Joe did not leave. He stayed to accompany Lin Ziasu. Young man, may I have your last name? Lin Ziasu from Fengcheng County, Dongchu Province. Yixiang, holding the little who she just received from Lin Zaiasu, has tumultuous feelings. Her interaction with Lin Zaiasu did not include learning his home address, yet as they are about to part ways, he clearly states his address while chatting with someone else. If it were merely chatting with the boss, there would be no need to be so precise. Just a name would suffice. But he said it anyway, with province and county. Knowing these details means that later, her brother would have an exact coordinate amidst the vast sea of people. Brother said it for her to hear. Indeed, Yixiang did catch his gaze. Yes, he said it for her to hear. This is honesty. Mr. Lin's performance today can only be described as divine. Although I have been in the jade industry for over 60 years, I have never seen such a miraculous jade cutting technique like Mr. Lin's, Boss Joe said. Are you interested in being a consultant at my Zuyu Pavilion? You need not be stationed there or travel north and south. When my company needs it, we'll send the jade samples over to you for your judgment. Lin Zaiasu smiled. Boss Joe, you had this intention since the second time you bid, didn't you? Oh, why? Boss Joe smiled. Lin Zaiasu said. That piece with yellow and green, anyone who's not a layman wouldn't bid as high as 200,000, yet you bid exactly that. I'm aware of the kindness in that, and I knew you must have a follow-up. Boss Joe sighed lightly. Despite your young age, Mr. Lin, the meticulousness of your thoughts is something I, an old man in his 70s or 80s, could not compare to. You rejected my goodwill earlier and made a counteroffer even lower than the market price. Did you not want to accept my favor? Everyone loves money, but living in this world, some people still yearn for a life unbound and unfettered, pursuing freedom without entanglement. I cannot accept the position at your company, but since we've had some dealings, here rests what we can do. If there are any difficult jade pieces to assess in the future, send them to Fengcheng Detective Agency, and I'll judge them for you. 10,000 yuan per time, I won't take your consultant title, and you won't have to pay me a salary. 10,000 yuan per time is too low. The jade that requires you to come over isn't ordinary. How about this 50,000? 50,000 per time, Boss Joe said. Deal. Both men shook hands, smiling. In fact, this was a rather happy affair. From Lin Zaiasu's perspective, the detective agency had just opened a new financial avenue. From Boss Joe's perspective, the financial path was even wider. With his status, he often had to make decisions about high-end jade. Sometimes a single oversight might result in losses in the millions or even tens of millions. For instance, an imperial green, if cut from the wrong angle, could lead to a fracture right down the middle with one stroke. There goes the bracelet. And how much is an imperial green bracelet worth? Measured in tens of millions. With the eye-checking of divine Izio Lin, the risk would be minimized, bringing benefits to Zuyu Pavilion far beyond the mere 50,000 eye-checking fee. Just about 2 hours later, the man in the suit came in. In his hands was a tray, atop of which were 4 bracelets. Lin Zaiasu couldn't help but brighten his eyes as he held the bracelets. The bracelets showed spring colors and were of high ice quality. Under the sunlight, they were truly like snow lotus flowers atop a snowy mountain, crystal clear and flawlessly beautiful. Mr. Lin, this raw material can still be crafted into many plaques and pendants, but we can't finish them today. If you trust us, leave an address and we will send them to you once they are done, said the man in the suit. Lin Zaiasu smiled. I've just reached an understanding with your elder, and we should have chances to meet in the future. Proceed from your professional perspective and follow your own design themes. Bring them to me the next time we meet. All right. Lin Zaiasu stood up. I must take my leave for today. Where is Sir headed? Let me give you a ride, the young man offered. No need. Goodbye, Boss Joe. Goodbye, everyone. Lin Zaiasu and Yixiang left, using a shared bike again on the street, arriving outside the stone market where Yixiang's scooter was parked. A small river flowed beneath the delicate railing. It was now past 3 in the afternoon. In another 3 hours it would be dark. Yixiang had a long way to go home. It was time for her to head back. Brother, are you planning to stay overnight in Taichung? She asked hesitantly, with a mix of hope and panic. If he stayed overnight in Taichung, she faced a significant decision, whether or not to spend the night with him as a major life question. No need, I'm going back home overnight, Lin Zaiasu said. I've been out for almost a month. Then I'll take you to the station. No need, the way back home is also long for you. Lin Zaiasu lightly lifted his hand, here. Yixiang's body trembled slightly as she stared at the red brocade bag he handed over. She knew what was inside. A bracelet. a newly finished bracelet. She also knew the value of this bracelet. The girl who came with the middle-aged shopkeeper had said that this bracelet was worth at least 200,000. Brother, this is too precious. I don't dare to accept it. No matter how precious it is, it's you who brought it to me. Lin Zaiasu smiled. Without our little Hu would we have it? If little Hu couldn't wear it, I would have made another one for it. Yixian giggled. It made such a big mistake, and yet you're still spoiling it. Didn't you see it has hugged its head in guilt? Lin Zaiasu took Yixiang's hand and slipped the bracelet onto it. Yixiang's hands, though they were those of a village girl, were also white as jade, matching the bracelet perfectly, creating the world's most beautiful outline. But even more beautiful than this outline was her delicate beauty. Her face in the slanting sunlight flushed like mist. Lin Zaiasu's eyes were full of admiration. So beautiful. Yixiang lightly turned her hand and hugged his waist. This was the first time she had initiated a hug with him, and as soon as she did, the blush on her cheeks spread like rouge melting into a pool of spring water, stirring, dissolving, endless spring feelings. Yixiang, Lin Zaiasu raised his hand, unsure whether to respond or not. Yixiang chuckled. Little Hu made a mistake and knows to give you a hug, and actually it was also my mistake, so let me give you a hug. Lin Zaiasu's hands fell, and he embraced her. Time seemed to stand still. The water in the small river seemed to cease flowing. The breeze blew, coming from the distant mountaintops, and with it came a faint fragrance. Yixiang's voice sounded as though it came from a dream. Brother, remember your words, you will come back. I will come back. Then I am off. Go ahead, be careful on the road. Yixiang climbed onto the motorcycle, and little Hu jumped to the front of it, started it, and the motorcycle drove along the road ahead. The wind blew, carrying her scent, her flowing hair in the air, and it seemed like a beautiful painting fixed in the wind. Lin Zaiasu watched her leave. Watched her figure merge into the reflection of the mountains on the road ahead. He turned gently, and a car silently stopped beside him. The window slid down silently as well. Sir, need a ride? Are you heading to the high-speed railway station? Lin Zaiasu asked. There's no need for the high-speed railway station. This car is very special. It goes directly to Fengcheng. The driver smiled lightly. Lin Zaiasu's eyes brightened, and he moved to the passenger side, pulling open the door. As he opened the door on this side, the window closed on the other. When he closed the door, the driver had already changed appearance. A beauty as beautiful as a demon. With blue hair. Blue demon. Blue demon sighed lightly. Although you've been vaccinated, saying you were going to seduce the moon spirit saintess, and I promised that as long as you complete your mission, I would turn a blind eye as if nothing happened, but seeing you pull this stunt with my own eyes, I still have to speak my mind. You're really not worth Chang Yi's concern. Lin Zaiasu glared at her. Hey, stop spreading rumors, okay? My relationship with her is perfectly pure. I don't care about my reputation being sullied, but the Miao family girl's reputation is precious. Pure, with each brother sounding sweeter than honey, with dates set, practically making solemn vows. If you are pure with her, then my just-past 30th birthday was for nothing. Blue Demon scoffed at him. You just celebrated your 30th birthday. Lin Zaiasu looked at her with some surprise. Your gaze is disgusting. If you dare to question my age, I will kill you. Blue Demon glared back fiercely. Even if you kill me, I have to speak fairly. You look at most 20. Absolutely not 30. Who are you trying to fool? If you're trying to use age to pressure someone in front of me, at least make it believable. Blue Demon's eyes were layered with strange little flowers, but her expression was somewhat contrived. I know what you're trying to do, say something I like to hear, to make me abandon my principles. Fine, I'll fall for your plot. On behalf of Chang Yi, I will honor our previous agreement and pretend that nothing happened. Nothing did happen. Lin Zaiasu was a little flustered. I've already given in and you're still being stubborn. I can't stand it and I have to argue with you. If you really are pure with her, why did you tell her you would come back? Please, give me a reason why you must come back. Lin Zaiasu said, the reason is not just for you. I've also made it clear to her. I told her my very clear goal for coming back is Conch Valley. Conch Valley. Blue Demon's eyes widened, and her gaze was filled with intense curiosity. Chapter 161. Chapter 161, The Ambiguity of Conch Valley. Why are you all like this? Could it be? Could it really be that Conch Valley has some weird custom, some kind of misunderstanding? Lin Ziasu suddenly thought that today at Wangfu Cliff, when he mentioned those words to Yixiang, her reaction was too strange, as if she'd been greatly shocked, and she exclaimed, "Brother, you're bad." Then, sitting in the back seat of his car, she leaned in close, her enthusiasm unrestrained because of that sentence. Could it be like the bamboo house of the Miao family, that Conch Valley also has a special meaning among the Miao household? Related to romance. Blue Demon said, "What was her reaction when you said those words to the moon spirit saintess?" The reaction was a bit strong, seemed very stimulated. "It must have been quite the stimulus," Blue Demon said. "Actually, I too didn't know the meaning behind the words Conch Valley. I only realized it when I overheard two village girls bantering in the Miao village. The two village girls were washing clothes by the river. One of the girls' pants had come undone, and the other pointed at her pants and told her, 'Your Conch Valley is showing.' As soon as she said that, the girl with the undone pants chased the one who reminded her for around 3 trees, throwing 7 or 8 punches. Damn it!" Lin Ziyasu's head hit the car seat back hard. Inwardly, a bunch of F\CKS. Conch Valley, among the Gu Miao clan, is a euphemism for the female genitalia. I told Yixiang, next time I come over my target is very specific, it is Conch Valley. Yixiang's cheeks suddenly turned red as fire, cursed him once, "Brother, you're bad." Then her enthusiasm exploded. "What the hell did I do? I was talking about the real Conch Valley. I didn't understand your euphemisms." "What's with that expression?" Blue Demon glanced at him with a teasing look. "Sister, can you suggest to Qianlong to add a section on the customs of various ethnic minorities and their other names and euphemisms to the basic information in the future? Otherwise, it's easy to make a fool of yourself." "Hee hee." Blue Demon chuckled softly and started driving. Lin Ziasu took a breath. "Actually, you should have guessed that the Conch Valley I'm talking about is the real one." Blue Demon nearly swerved the car with laughter. "I know it's useless to know because the girl didn't think so. Detective Lin, who's thought to be infallible, actually had his day. Do you think this might be your forever scandal?" Lin Ziasu was somewhat speechless. "Sister, although you look like you're in your 20s, you are still a heavenly king-level individual. Don't you really want to talk business?" The laughter from Blue Demon ceased. She eyed him through the rearview mirror. "Business. Very serious and very big, bigger than anything." "Let's hear it." Blue Demon's expression also became serious. Lin Ziasu said, "Do you remember how Chu Tianquo died? That little cat named Little Who killed him with a single claw. Did you track down the origins of this cat? It's not a cat, it's called Huangjai. Within 100 years all are young. Young Huangjai can kill lions and tigers. As they age, they grow 6 wings on their ribs, traveling thousands of miles in an instant. The wind from the Huangjai's wings can overturn rivers and seas." Blue Demon's hand jerked, tapping the autopilot switch. She suddenly turned to face him. "Ancient creatures." "Yes. It came out of Conch Valley." "Exactly. I asked Yixiang, and she said she picked it up in Conch Valley, not just it. There was also the snow-white turtle, which also came from Conch Valley." Blue Demon's pupils turned into a bewitching blue. "That turtle is not a turtle." "The turtle is indeed a turtle. Nonetheless, it's not a turtle from this world. It's called Snow Turtle, the guardian holy beast of Zuchuan, capable of switching life and death at will and creating forbidden zones in the snowfields. That is its power." Blue Demon said, "These things aren't recorded in the mountain and river scripture. The scripture that records these messages is the Sea Abyss scripture." Lin Ziasu said, "I entered Conch Valley to find that ancient pathway. I truly sense the otherworld's breath, but I can't find the pathway. There have been rumors that the ancient world will come. Everyone listened to it as a myth, but now 2 ancient creatures have truly appeared. Could it be the legend is real?" Blue Demon said. "I've always believed it's real," Lin Ziasu said. "What would happen if it really came?" Blue Demon turned pale. Even as a king-level individual of Qianlong, she looked unsettled. "Think about it, a young beast that can kill a Qianlong member with a single claw. If billions of grown exotic beasts emerged, if the people from the other side also came, can you imagine the consequences?" Blue Demon slowly closed her eyes. "Some things are legends, some things are myths, and myths are listened to as such without much concern. But when myths suddenly cast a tangible shadow in the real world, when she truly realized that a mythical world could possibly descend, she felt a trembling at the heart. Because the power of these 2 worlds was completely non-comparable. In the present world, genetic transformation was seen as miraculous. and indeed, it gave people a sense of superhuman. However, the essence of genetic transformation was to use foreign genes to stimulate the host's gene organization to unleash maximum energy. Yet, the creatures from the ancient world were born with the most perfect genes. The ceiling that humankind strives for is simply something others are born with. What can you compete with? Regarding these two ancient creatures, what do you think should be done about them? Blue Demon said. There's no need to deal with them, Lin Zaiasu replied. Huangjai is the Lao Mountain sacred beast, and the snow turtle is the Zuchuan sacred beast. They are auspicious beasts among exotic beasts. As long as they are not truly provoked, they pose no danger and might even one day become our own strength. Blue Demon nodded gently. Not to mention, if you look at it from a superstitious point of view, the moon spirit saintess really seems to be a person with great fortune. So, what are your thoughts on Conch Valley? These two auspicious beasts crossing the boundary during their youth is the fortune of the Miao village, but we cannot place our hopes on fortune, betting that we are lucky every time. We need to find this passage and figure out a way to seal it. Otherwise, sooner or later, something will come out of that passage that we can't handle. The passage to the other world doesn't fall within the scope of science, but rather metaphysics, Blue Demon said. Qianlong doesn't have such people. Perhaps in the entire world, only Kun Kang can solve this difficult problem. Can Kun Kang do it? Lin Zaiasu's eyes lit up slightly. Inside Kun Kang there are various arrays. If their array masters help, perhaps we can find that otherworld connection point with an array, and to implement a realm seal, only an array can accomplish that, Blue Demon said. However, Kun Kang is notoriously stubborn. They have their own standards of action, and it's even more dangerous that it's hard to distinguish between good and evil among their people. If we blindly invite them to help, even if they come, they act purely on a whim. Sealing the passage is possible, but it's also not impossible for them to actually open the passage with their intervention. Lin Zaiasu felt a chill down his spine. The Kun Kang, whose forces are of indiscriminate nature. How to deal with it? Indeed, as Blue Demon said, if we blindly expose this place to Kun Kang and invite them to help, no one knows whether the people who come will be righteous or evil. The people of Kun Kang, according to the legend, are cultivators who have practiced for hundreds or even thousands of years. Their original homes no longer have any kin, and their countries are unknown. Can you expect them to have any national sentiment? Such people would not care about the fate of Daxia, nor would they care about ordinary citizens of Daxia. They have been cultivating all their lives. What they care about is only cultivation. For them, letting creatures of the ancient wilderness cross into this world, so they could witness the peaks of the cultivation path, might actually be quite an exciting thrill. No matter what, someone has to do this job, Lin Zaiasu said. Perhaps I need to make a trip to the northwest. The northwest, Blue Demon asked, any point of entry? There's a clue, but I can't confirm yet if it's the point of entry, Lin Zaiasu said. Do I need to do anything? Lin Zaiasu said, no need right now, I'll contact you when I need you. Blue Demon looked deeply at him. We've strayed a bit too far off topic. Aren't you going to ask about some of the closer-to-home issues? Lin Zaiasu smiled lightly. The stuff close to home is just Chu Tianquo and that Gushan. You've already taken care of their bodies, and we can also write the closing report for the Dong brothers' case. What you really mean is, I should arrange the payment now. Blue Demon also smiled. The funds have already been transferred, 200,000. Although I think 200,000 is a bit too little, but I figure you don't really need the money that much. What do you mean? Don't stretch your leg this far, I still need to get paid for my next trip to the northwest. Blue Demon gave him a sideways glance, shaking her head lightly. I just don't understand, you earn millions with just a wave of your hand in the border town. Why are you so fond of money? One thing at a time. My ability to make money is my skill. When I work for Qianlong and Qianlong pays me, that's a trading principle. Besides, I still have 2 little flowers at the detective agency to nourish. If I don't water them for a long time, they'll wither. Blue Demon looked at him blankly. This watering, is it above board? Damn it. Lin Zaiasu refused to continue the conversation. The car traveled tens of miles and then entered the highway. Lin Zaiasu fell asleep. When he woke up, the sky was full of stars, and the journey was more than halfway done. Lin Zaiasu said, it's time for me to drive now, you should rest. At the service station ahead, he had a meal with Blue Demon. They switched places. Blue Demon comfortably laid flat, her eyes just about to close, then opened again. Hey, I have some good news for you, to give you a little more passion to support you through the long drive. Let's hear it, Lin Ziasu said. I heard that a Qianlong Reserve member has returned to Fengcheng, and I also heard she is your childhood sweetheart. Hu Ye is back. Lin Ziasu was genuinely excited. I really worry endlessly for Chang Yi. The village girl in Miaozheng is still waiting for brother to enter her conch valley, and the two little flowers at the detective agency are waiting to be watered. Now out pops a childhood sweetheart. Sigh, when will it ever end? Blue Demon fell asleep. Chapter 162. Chapter 162. Two bracelets for little Hua Hua. Several hundred miles of travel, Lin Ziasu drove for 5 hours, and in the early morning he finally saw Fengcheng's city sculpture, the Fire Phoenix. Past the sculpture, he entered the main road of the county town. At this moment it was the morning rush hour of the small county town, and the car moved in stops and starts. Blue Demon also woke up, looking around this small city. He couldn't help but exclaim. Although it's a bit rundown and small, the fact that it has mountains and water is pretty nice. If I retire one day, I should buy a house here to live out my old age. Can you guys from Qianlong really retire? Lin Ziasu asked. That sentence is pretty normal for the outside world, but it's quite shocking when applied to a Qianlong member. Blue Demon sighed softly. As long as evil exists, Qianlong will not rest. Our destiny is probably already decided. It is to perish on the battlefield, not in this leisurely little town under the blue sky and white clouds. Don't be so pessimistic. Evil persists, thus Qianlong does not retire, but this Qianlong doesn't necessarily only refer to you. Every generation has its own mission. Our generation will solve the primary issues, then retire under the blue sky and white clouds, watching the next generation of Qianlong fulfill their mission. Isn't that also a kind of posture? Blue Demon laughed. That's exactly what I was waiting for you to say, what you said. Our generation will solve the main problems. Then in the future, when you are needed, don't talk money with me. Damn, is Qianlong your dad? When I pluck a few feathers from the iron rooster that is Qianlong, you act as if it's killing you. The car arrived at the detective agency, and Lin Ziasu got out of the car. Want to come in and rest at the detective agency? Forget it, I can't stand seeing the two flowers of the detective agency vying for your affection. Well, mainly it's Dai Chang I can't stand seeing. Better out of sight, out of mind, I'm off. Blue Demon's car vanished from sight. Lin Ziasu felt somewhat sentimental. A heavenly king actually drove him all the way back to Fengcheng. How unimaginable is that? All right, let go of everything from the past, face your daily life. The two flowers of the detective agency come out to welcome the clients. The two flowers inside the detective agency were a bit wilted at the moment. Why? Not for business. Business was booming and they really had nothing to worry about. After Lin Ziasu left, they continued taking cases. Without Lin Ziasu beside them for support, they could only pressure themselves, and the result of this pressure was that they both gradually gained the ability to carry the load. The case they solved a few days ago gave the two women a great sense of achievement. They also didn't worry about the sudden incident that occurred at the Lin family. Because they had visited Old Tashan village and just the third day, they saw a smile on Lin Mu's face, and they received the reassuring news. Lin Ziasu's brother wouldn't need an amputation. It was just an injury, and he would recover soon. Theoretically, there was no reason for the two flowers to wilt. They should have been blooming brightly. The only thing causing them to wilt was the emergence of a person at the Lin family, the beautiful and radiant little Yi, the one regarded as the Lin family's daughter-in-law by the whole village. His girlfriend was even staying in his house. Miao Rulan wilted. She wilted, and Zhou Zai wilted along with her. A young girl's dreams are unpredictable like that, sprouting quietly at midnight, drawing colorful outlines on the white paper. But suddenly, a bucket of cold water is poured down, turning the picture into something unrecognizable. Suddenly, a voice came from outside the door. Hey, I'm back. Miao Rulan and Zhou Zai both jumped up, their cheeks blooming brightly. No matter how knotted their internal feelings were, as long as they saw him, the sunshine was still bright. Miao Rulan picked up a teacup and offered it to him. Zhou Zai ran over showing concern. Your brother's injury is really okay. Lin Ziasu said. It's fine now, he's been discharged and returned to the army. That's good, Miao Rulan became happy. A soldier's return to the army after recovering indicates one thing. The recovery was very thorough. A full stop could now be put to the sudden incident. Hey, there's something. Yesterday I received another payment, 200,000. Again, it was from the 101 company, Miao Ruolen said. When Miao Ruolen mentioned the payment, Josai's eyes sparkled. They received the payment yesterday, and after receiving it, the two women performed an analysis. It seems that this handsome guy did another big thing in Bainan province. Lin Ziasu laughed. I helped the local police in Bainan province crack a case. As expected, Josai smiled. Others spend a stack of money for nursing patients, but you earn a big amount while nursing a patient. Hey, brother Lin, if I get injured, will you come and nurse me as well? Maybe we'll make a windfall. Miao Ruolen chuckled. You jinx who curses themselves like that. Lin Ziasu had a mixture of amusement and helplessness as he raised his hand and delivered two small packages to the women. Brought you some local specialties. What is it? Josai took it. Miao Ruolen spoke up. Really, you shouldn't have. What gifts? She also took it. The two women opened their packages at the same time, and their eyes widened simultaneously. Inside the red brocade bag was a beautifully unmatched bracelet. Crystal clear and imbued with spring colors, it was prettier than any bracelet they'd ever seen. You call this a local specialty? Josai let out a long breath. Isn't Bainan province famous for producing these? But, Miao Ruolen's face flushed red. This bracelet must be really expensive, it looks very high-end. If I say I didn't spend a single penny, would you believe me? Both women shook their heads in unison. Nobody would believe that, not even if the bracelet was of the lowest grade, C grade. How could it not cost anything? Lin Ziasu laughed. I bought a few pieces of raw stone, one of them already recouped the cost, and from another one several bracelets were made. The manufacturing fee was waived. Isn't it just like not spending a penny? A grade, Josai's expression changed. How you interpret his words depends on how you listen. It sounded like he was answering Miao Ruolen's question about the bracelets being expensive or not. He informed both women that he didn't spend any money on the bracelet. But what Josai caught was the truth about the bracelet. It was processed on-site from a stone. It's authentic, as real as it can get. The beauty it reveals is not an illusion, but a true beauty. Miao Ruolen handed over the bracelet. Little Sue, this is too good for me. You should give it to someone in your family. My mom works in the fields. Do you think she would dare to wield a hoe wearing a jade bracelet? Don't overthink it. This is for you. I'm heading upstairs now. Lin Ziasu shook the small bag in his hand and went up to the second floor. The two women on the first floor looked at each other. Sister Lan, did you catch the very subtle implication? Josai turned her eyes to Miao Ruolen. What? Just now when you said the bracelet should be given to someone in his family, you didn't mean his mother, right? Indeed, what Miao Ruolen meant was clear to Josai. By returning the bracelet to Lin Ziasu, she intended for him to give it to someone in his household, and that someone was not his mother. Everyone knew that women working in the fields are not suitable to wear jade bracelets. She was referring to little Yi, his genuine girlfriend, the girlfriend who moved into his house. But what about him? He seemed to have completely forgotten the existence of this girlfriend, not even thinking of her. Josai lifted the teacup, her eyes flickering. Another thing, little Yi moved into his home on July 17, and from that day to now, over a month, he hasn't stayed at home once. Is that normal? Miao Ruolen felt even more confused. What Josai noticed was exactly what she couldn't understand. And there was something even more incomprehensible. She clearly remembered the time his brother had an accident. The call he received was from little Yi, and this call showed up as an unknown number on his phone. Which girlfriend would appear as a stranger on her boyfriend's phone? Which girlfriend would move in, and the boyfriend would rather stay in the detective agency's rented room for over a month than go home? If it were far away, maybe it could be overlooked, but is Fengcheng far from Old Tashan village? With his skills, he wouldn't even need to ride a bike. He could run home. A pile of mysteries. Sister Lan, maybe that little Yi might not actually be his girlfriend, said Josai. That doesn't seem likely, does it? Which girl would be willing to live in someone else's home without a title or status? Why not just splash some cash? Josai said. Our brother Lin isn't short on money right now, is he? Spending a few thousand yuan to hire someone to take care of his elderly mother at home, isn't that normal? Domestic help. A sudden glow of excitement appeared on Miao Ruolen's face. From the perspective of detective studies, This is probably the only possibility. If it's truly domestic help, why would there be a need to assume the title of a girlfriend? Josai said, Sister Lan, you're also from a rural area. You understand the psychology of old women in the countryside the best. If you want to do something filial for your mom, hiring a housekeeper for her, would she agree? She would definitely say, I'm capable of working. Why would I need a housekeeper? She would drive anyone away on the spot, but if you lie to her and say it's your brother's girlfriend, would she still drive her away? Miao Ruolan felt persuaded. No, a certain hope buried in her heart was rekindled. While the two women were analyzing the issue and getting more excited as they did so, Lin Zaiasu came back down the stairs. Ruolan, how has the case been going during this time? Pretty smoothly. Do you want to see the records of this period? As long as it's smooth, no need for me to check. I'm going back home. Drive back. Ruolan handed the car keys to Lin Zaiasu. Lin Zaiasu refused. Leave the car for you to do official business. I'm just going home to kill some time. What do I need the car for? After leaving the detective agency, he hailed a cab home. Brother Lin is back home, and Sister Lan's little spark of hope is kindled. Should I not return for the night, leaving enough space for you two martial arts masters to have a showdown? Miao Ruolan gave her a look. Get lost. Josai giggled and stood up. I'm off to work on that divorce case. She rode Ruolan's little electric scooter out to work on the case. By the time the case was resolved, it was mealtime. The client offered to treat her to a meal, but Josai refused. Although there weren't many regulations in the detective agency against accepting meals from clients, she still set a rule for herself. Keep everything strictly professional. There was a small restaurant ahead, and Josai walked in, ordering a bowl of Lanzhou noodles. Just after a few bites, a voice suddenly called out from behind, Josai. Josai turned around and saw a familiar face. Chapter 163. Chapter 163. Immortal Company, Immortal Daughter-in-Law. Li Fang, when did you come back? Li Fang, her high school classmate. After graduating from high school, everyone went their separate ways. She pursued an undergraduate degree, while Li Fang, whose grades were slightly lacking, attended a vocational school. At the beginning of the year, they met in the county city, at which time Li Fang was carrying a suitcase, preparing to head to Huacheng. Forget about it. After the new year, I went to Huacheng for a job at Huanyu Technology Company. But do you know what that company is like? 3 people, 1 rented room. In my first month, there wasn't even money to pay for electricity, and the boss spent half the day trying to persuade me to pay up to help the company through tough times. The world is full of thick-skinned people, but have you ever seen such a thick-skinned company? And they dare to call themselves Huanyu. Josai gently shook her head. So you came back. What else could I do? Actually help them pay the electricity bill, said Li Fang. Over the past 6 months, I've actually been working as a store guide at Li Dasheng Jewelry in Fengcheng. What about you? Where are you? I'm in Fengcheng too. Which company? I hope it's not another 3 people, 1 room kind of company. Josai looked a bit strange. Well, it really is 3 people, 1 room. Really? Li Fang was surprised. Really? My God, as much as a girl cursing isn't graceful or refined, I still have to say, this crappy world makes finding a good job too damn hard. Sister, let's grab some noodles and find a place to have a good cry. Li Fang fiercely scooped up a lump of chili sauce, stirred it aggressively into her noodles, and then devoured her meal, sweating from her nose. Finally, she finished eating and wiped her mouth with a napkin on the table. How much is your salary? 5,000. 5,000. Li Fang's eyes widened. Monthly or annually? Monthly, of course. Monthly? It's not just empty promises, right? Have they actually paid you? Li Fang said. These 3 people, 1 room companies love to draw big pies in the sky. It's not about what they say, but what you actually receive. How much did you get last month? Over 6,000. That includes overtime pay for weekends. Li Fang's expression completely changed. Fengcheng, this tiny 8th-tier city, how could bottom-tier workers like them just starting in society be making over 6,000 a month? Is that even possible? Probably only one possibility. Li Fang took a deep breath. Doesn't your boss have any inappropriate thoughts about you? Only unwarranted intentions could make a boss step outside of the empty promise routine and actually pay solid money. If it were a male employee, the likelihood would be almost 0. But for fresh young ladies like them, there are always some pigs looking for a bite, making genuine payment for such a pie in the sky quite plausible. Josai felt a wave of emotions inside. harboring inappropriate thoughts. I actually wish he did, but it seems he really doesn't. She shook her head lightly. I absolutely don't believe there are no improper intentions. The smaller the boss, the more every penny has a motive. Has he? Has he often done you little favors? Josai felt a slight stir. Does Jade count? Li Fang's eyes gleamed. He gave you Jade. Yes. Li Fang said, just as I thought, Jade is perfect for luring women. Fakes are everywhere and the fakes look even prettier than the real ones. Something from a few tens to telling you it's worth tens of thousands, making you owe him a huge favor as if you're selling yourself happily. It's lucky you met me. Let me have a look, I'll tell you how wicked the world is. Josai hesitated for a moment, then opened her small bag, taking out the brocade bag inside. The brocade bag was luxurious, embroidered with gold threads depicting a logo, Zuyu Pavilion. Inside was a black wood box, also bearing the same logo, Zuyu Pavilion. Li Fang glanced at the brocade bag, a hint of disdain appearing at the corner of her mouth. Crap, Zuyu Pavilion, that's a noble brand in the jewelry world, and he dares to fake it. Then looking at the wood box, her eyebrows furrowed. Is there even a secret mark? Holding the bracelet inside, she examined it against the sunlight and gently touched it, her expression gradually changing. Stop looking, this is genuine, Josai said. Bought the raw stone on site, cut open on site, crafted on site. Did you see it with your own eyes? Asked Li Fang. Josai shook her head. He told me. You believe him just like that, Li Fang said. If this is genuine with such quality, don't even think about owning it for less than 100,000. A small boss in a rented place, could he give you something worth 100,000? Think about it, it must be fake. Josai's cheeks flushed. Do you really think it's worth more than 100,000? I mean, if it's real, it would be worth more than 100,000, Li Fang said. Sister, let's go to the store, the master craftsman is there now, let him take a look. There's no need, I told you it's real. What do you mean, no need? He even pulled off a high-end bracelet from Zuyu Pavilion. Looks like his claws are very close to you. It's too difficult for us girls in society, listen to me, we better clear things up. I guess you're right, if it truly is that valuable, I really shouldn't be keeping it. We should return it, Josai said. Let's go and see, okay. At Li Dasheng Jewelry, the master craftsman used 3 different instruments and gave the final verdict. Miss Zhou, this bracelet has no issues. It is genuine natural jade grade A, and both the certificate and craftsmanship exactly fit Zuyu Pavilion's product standards. Even in Zuyu Pavilion, it's of master-level quality. Both women's hearts pounded. Not only was the jade genuine, but it was also personally crafted by a master from Zuyu Pavilion. How much is it worth? Josai asked a critical question. At least 200,000, the master craftsman said. That's just the buyback price. If the lady wishes, I can speak to the boss right now about buying it back directly. Josai declined the buyback offer, somewhat out of sorts. Li Fang escorted her out of the shop, and under the shade of a tree outside, she couldn't hold back and sighed long. Sister, what kind of divine company did you run into? Now is my company not just a bag company? Josai glanced at her sideways. As long as the real money reaches our hands, even if the company has nothing but a briefcase, it's still an immortal company. So your standard is just having money. You don't worry about the boss deceiving you for your beauty. Li Fang's gaze shifted. Deceiving beauty? When a girl sells herself for just a few dozen bucks, that's cheating. Is it still cheating if you get hundreds of thousands? Hey girl, I'm seriously begging you, can you let your boss deceive me? I really want to be tricked right now. Hey, that's not proper for a decent girl, you know. Li Fang sighed. These days, decent girls starve to death. When bad money drives out good money becomes the norm, being decent is a sin. Oh my god, these values seem a bit crumbled. Josai rode on the little motorbike and scooted off. At Old Tashin Village, Lin Zaiasu also returned home. The courtyard gate was locked. As he opened the gate, Lin Zaiasu was stunned by the courtyard. This little farmhouse courtyard, previously cluttered with stuff, presented an extraordinary beauty today. Pebbles piled up to form 2 vegetable plots and a small flower garden. The vegetables in the garden were neatly arranged. The greens were vegetables, the reds were chili peppers, and the whites were perpetual whites. The flowers in the garden were in full bloom. That was climbing dayflower, and at this time of the season, it gently spread throughout the entire garden. The path was also paved with pebbles. On the grapevine, the grapes were not yet mature, emerald green and teeming with life. Below the grape arbor sat a new wooden tea table, clean and elegantly simple. He had never imagined his own courtyard could be so refined. Probably neither had Mum. The only one capable of doing this was little Yi. She was a smart robot. Her programming stored too much stuff. She had a belly full of gardening knowledge. She was better at gardening than Mum, who had spent a lifetime with vegetables. She also had hands-on capabilities like a 3D printer, the knowledge in her. Oh no, control panel could be presented in the most precise way. The inside of the house was the same. The concrete floor was polished, the stairs were wiped clean, and every item in the room showcased its most beautiful side. The house was still the same house, but after skillful tidying it was transformed. It was just tidying, not renovating. The materials used in the tidying came not from stores but were picked naturally. The pebbles were from the river, the wood was from the mountains. The least likely to exude a sense of life, the robot, had injected a sense of life into his home. How could it not move someone deeply? Lin Zaiasu stepped out and went to the backyard vegetable garden. From a distance he saw two figures, a very warm and sweet scene. Mum was there weeding, little Yi was there picking vegetables, and occasionally laughter could be heard. In the neighboring vegetable plot was another person, second aunt, watching this mother-in-law and daughter-in-law chatting and laughing. Her face held a complex expression, seeming a bit envious and also a bit resentful. "Mum," Lin Zaiasu called out. Both women in the field turned back simultaneously. Little Yi's face broke into a radiant smile. Mum's face also showed a smile. "Little Yi, let's stop and go home." Lin Mu naturally grabbed little Yi's hand, and the two walked back shoulder to shoulder. They went up the slope, face to face. Mum's first words were still about his brother. "Is your brother's injury okay now?" "It's completely healed. He's discharged from the hospital and he's back with the troops." Mum finally put her heart at ease. "That's great, really great. Little Yi, you go back home with Zaiasu first, and I'll finish up that plot of land and come back." "Okay," little Yi responded. That's how her programming runs. Whatever Lin Mu said, she would agree. Never opposed, never annoyed. Such a daughter-in-law, also a divine daughter-in-law. She met all the expectations ancient and modern mothers-in-law had for daughters-in-law. Lin Zaiasu scratched his scalp, suddenly feeling that this might not be a good sign. Mum was liking little Yi more and more. Her tastes had been spoiled by little Yi. If he truly used little Yi as a template to find a wife in the future, he likely wouldn't find anyone. At least, women of this era definitely wouldn't just respond with an okay in front of their mother-in-law. "Chang Yi, you've really dug a pit for me. It's not just burying me, but also yourself." Judging by the rural mother-in-law's standards for a daughter-in-law, little Yi scores even higher than you, the legitimate one. I want to see how you close the skies later. When night fell, Lin Zaiasu felt that besides the future pit, there was also a pit in front of him. It was when he discussed with Mum about going to Liu Lin Temple tonight, Mum's stern warning. "Little Su, what's wrong with you? Little Yi is already living at home, and as soon as you come home, you want to leave. Such a good daughter-in-law and you don't cherish her, you want to soar to the heavens. You must accompany her well, and you're not allowed to go anywhere today." So Lin Zaiasu could only go upstairs, facing the room where little Yi looked lively and vivid.